A town hall, so it's a little different format than our city council meetings. These are all of our aldermen. Most of you guys know them. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves real quick. Steve?
My name's Steve Skopek. I'm alderman in Ward 1. That's over on the west side. Been there for several years now, so I kind of like the job.
Ryan Wilson, Ward 4.
John Moores, Ward 1.
Do we have to stand up?
Steve Sagasser, Ward 3.
Alexis Neal, Ward 4.
Dusty Ross, Ward 2.
And I'm Justin Ballard, serving as the acting interim mayor until Tuesday's election, and I also hold the seat of Ward 2 alderman, so I'm double duty tonight. I'm going to get a few remarks, and we'll kind of give you the layout of the how the format's going to go. Mike Beatty from Liberty Utilities has a quick statement, and then we'll start taking public. I've got a list of everyone who's signed up. Anyone after that wants to come up, if you would, just let us know, and we'll make sure everybody gets an opportunity to speak tonight. There's a list in the back if you want to put your name on there, just so we can kind of keep formalities going, moving forward. We are being live streamed on YouTube tonight, just to give everybody a heads up on that, so keep that in mind. So we've the 3-minute limit for speakers tonight, and that's mainly just out of respect for everybody that's here, so everybody has an opportunity to say what they need to say or want to say. If it goes over a few seconds, it's not the end of the world, but if we can kind of keep it around there, that would, I think, help keep things moving forward and give everybody an opportunity to speak that wants to. Also, please be respectful and kind is a big key part of that. I don't know if that's my microphone or... You guys hear okay out there? Keep in mind that all of us are experiencing the same frustrations and anxiety, all the aldermen. We all live in town. We all deal with the same issues. So we're here to, this meeting especially, bridge a gap, give citizens an opportunity to voice frustrations, try to find issues, and also to give you information, give you facts and details about situations, and try to maybe get away from some of the rumors and the miscommunication that's floating around there. Kind of give everybody a little bit of background on that. And I'll let others kind of get into that. We also have representatives from Liberty here. They have customer service representatives out in the lobby. If anyone has specific questions about billing or your issues, they're here to take questions. We have a representative from the Office of Public Counsel here, and the Public Service Commission, who is here tonight in a listening capacity only, but they are out in the lobby. If you guys have any issues or you want to make comments to them, they're available out there as well. So we've tried to make this as open and accommodating to everyone so that all of our bases can get covered. Trying to think here if there's anything else. If we do have questions or things that come up tonight that the board doesn't have answers to, find them. That's why we've invited everybody who's a stakeholder in this situation to be here and be available for everybody. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Mike Beatty from Liberty Utilities.
Thank you to the Bolivar Mayor and Board for inviting us here. I've got a green light now.
There we go.
Again, thank you to the Bolivar Mayor and Board for inviting us to be here. We are grateful for the opportunity to hear from you and our customers. My name is Mike Beatty. I am the president of the gas operations in Liberty Central Region. I've been with the Liberty for 13 years, and I've been in the industry for 37 years. I want to start by making it clear that Liberty's Missouri utilities are not for sale. We provide electric, water, wastewater services in Bolivar, and we plan to provide these essential services in Bolivar for many, many more years. Hundreds of Liberty team members and employees live in our Missouri service areas and the surrounding communities, including frontline employees, engineers, customer service representatives. We are proud to work for Liberty, and we want you to be proud to have Liberty as your utility service provider. As you know, we have implemented a new software system, which includes an upgrade to our billing system. Approximately 10% of our customers in Missouri experience some billing issues following that implementation. We apologize for the inconveniences. We have had a team of people working to resolve these issues and to improve our billing practices overall. We know we still have work to do, and we will fully commit to continuing to make improvements to our billing and customer service practices to better serve our customers. If you received a delay bill, didn't receive bills for some time, you will be given at least twice the length of the delay to pay the bill in full. Thank you again for having us. We're here to listen and help. I have Charlotte Emery, our Senior Director for Regulatory, and Ms. Diana Carter, our Legal Director, here with me to answer your general questions. For specific bill questions on your bill, again, we have customer services out in the hall, and we have Candace Kelly, our Customer Care Director. Please take advantage of this opportunity to work one-on-one with them if you have questions to be answered. Likely, later this summer, you will have the opportunity to attend a public hearing in Bolivar and testify before the Missouri Public Service Commission in the electric rate case. And of course, you can always call us or come into one of our walk-in centers here in Bolivar. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're going to move right on. Mr. Mark Abel, available?
Hello, everyone. I want to say I'm not an eloquent speaker, but I want to speak to a possible solution tonight. And in order to do that, I've got to say some things that I see on a national level. First of all, I just want to say, for anybody that gets really angry at me, I'm a lifelong Republican. I know this is a nonpartisan bunch of people sitting here, but I've been a lifelong Republican, and this card proves it. But on a national level, they've summarily fired 700,000 people that had a contract. And they had a contract with the GS pay scale, which is a federal government pay scale, that if they worked 20 years, they would get a retirement. And if they worked and did a good job every day, they would get a certain GS rating and a certain amount of pay. And the reason I mention that is because that leads me to my solution. Maybe, and this won't be very popular, by the way, maybe it's time for Liberty to look at their pay scale of starting with their administrators and then work down to the employee level and do a Doge kind of a thing like they're doing on the national level. Maybe their costs are too high. And that being said, I haven't heard one economist say this because I think it's a worldwide problem. What the people of the United States don't realize is we're competing with the Chinese people. We're competing with the EU people. We're competing with Mexicans. Our pay here is exorbitant. And I know people don't like to hear that. Our benefits are exorbitant. We can't compete. So we're going to do these tariffs to try to protect our wages. Well, it's just time to face the cold, hard facts. Maybe administrative costs and employee costs need to be looked at. Benefits need to be looked at. And I know it's not a pleasant thing, but when we're trying to compete with Southwest Electric, for example, maybe you need to start looking at that kind of stuff. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chuck McLaughlin?
I've lived in my town since 1980, and I've had my own business since 2000. And if I ran my business like they've run this business, where you get a bill of minus $1,929 or $24, and right behind it you get another bill that says you owe, whoops, I got them turned around, $2,413.74. If I ran a company if I'd run my business like that, I would have been run out of business. But the problem is, where do we go to get our electricity and our water? How come you can't sit down and say, this is the problem? You can't go out to the Liberty out there. She's been working on my bill for 7 weeks now, and she still hasn't figured out how come I get charged one thing one month and one thing another month for the same amount of water and the same amount of electricity. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir.
Justin,
Yes, sir.
you mind if I introduce myself real quick?
You bet. Sorry, I should have given you the opportunity.
No, that's fine. Good evening. My name's Jeff Mark. I'm the chief economist with Missouri Office of Public Counsel. So I drove down tonight here from Jefferson City. First of all, I just want to thank you. This is great. This is hats off to your city council for making this happen. I don't know if you guys demanded it or if it came from you. Regardless, the amount of people that are coming out here, I want you to know your voice, us being here, the Missouri Public Service Commission being here, we want to hear from you. And these sort of comments, we are taking notes. There's opportunities to go ahead and file comments formally with the Public Service Commission. There's opportunities, as mentioned earlier, we're going to have another local public town hall meeting, or local public hearing, I guess is what we call it, where you'll have an opportunity to speak to the actual commissioners who ultimately will decide on increase of rates that are coming up. If you're not aware of it right now, Liberty Utilities is currently in for a rate case. So to put a little context here, utilities come in and asked for a fairly sizable rate increase. That is a long process. We open up all of their books. We look at all of the salaries. We look at everything that's involved with it. Our office in particular, we advocate for you. So our office, the Office of Public Counsel, represents the public. If you have specific issues or grievances that you don't feel like you have enough time to articulate it here in this forum, I've got a stack of business cards. Please take them. Contact me. This is my job. I love it. All right? I really do. I geek out on this stuff. I've got a real passion for just looking out for the state of Missouri and its citizens. So Outside too, I had printed up some handouts that'll give you some context for what the potential rate increase is. So if you have any questions around that, please feel free to ask it here, speak to me after the fact. I can go into greater detail, and if you have any questions really above and beyond just billing or electric service, really, please put them out there today. This is your chance to be heard and to try to get some answers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Myron.
First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for coming, because it means that you care. However, some of the blame of this is on us as the city and the voters of Bolivar. We handed you a monopoly by voting it to where you could take over our water and sewage. You guys bought the electric, so we brought a lot of this on ourselves. We should have never done that, for starters, but now here we are. What I am asking is that somebody change some of the rules. Give us the opportunity to drill our own well. I will do away with you. Give us the opportunity to choose who our electric companies are. We have other local companies. Do not condemn us by our address on who we have to use. If you give us the opportunity to choose, and you give us the opportunity to drill, companies like this will fix themselves because they will have no customers. That's what I want. I want the right to choose. I want the right to drill, and I want the right to discard. Thank you.
Mr. Darrell Kreitz.
My name is Darrell Kreitz, and my problem started in '24. I had automatic draw at the bank. 1 month I wouldn't get a bill at all. They wouldn't draw anything. The next month they'd draw 2 bills. Person living on Social Security like I do, that's a little confusing because I have a budget that I have to go by. Next thing, in October, I think, they put in a new meter. It took them from October to way up in 25, or 24, I mean, started in 23, I'm sorry. December 23, I got my first bill on a new meter. It took them till way up in 24 to figure out that that last number on the new meter was a tenth instead of, so my first water bill, instead of being $1,200, it was, or 1,200 gallon, it was 12,000 gallon. It went on this way for, finally, they told me out here at the office, said don't pay your bill till we get it straightened out. Okay, they kept sending me bills, $1,900, almost $2,000. When they finally revised it, I owed $945 when they got it right. They still haven't, in December, when they took out that first month, I was on automatic draw, they took out $110 and some cents too much. I've never got that back. They say I have, but I can't prove it. They sent me a phony bill that said I paid $76 1 month, which I didn't. I paid $186 that month. Now, we get along pretty good till about 3 months ago. I get a bill, and there's a little note written in pen, said this was put in the wrong account. You owe $41.39. I wrote them a check for the amount that they charged me. They put it in the wrong account somewhere. If I pay somebody $150 for something and they go down here at the bank and they put $50 in wrong account. Is that my problem? No, that's their problem. Now, another thing. We got this deal here that's $41. They just keep putting it on, and I keep taking it off. I don't know it, so I just, every month I subtract it off. Make sure I have a balance the next month. Also, and I had a level pay on my electric, $110 a month. Getting along pretty good. They decided that's too much. They dropped it down to 90. We go along at 90. When all this began to happen, I told them, I said, get that up to 125. I want to get this debt paid on this electricity. They drew 120, or I wrote checks. I stopped that automatic pay. I wrote checks the rest of the time for the full amount of whatever I owed. And we went along 125 for a little while. Then pretty soon they dropped it to 107. I'm up to where I owe almost $400 now. One of these days they're going to say, hey, we want that $400 or you're going to pay interest on it. And here I had to come up $400 when I could have been paying so many dollars a month. Why do you drop my level pay on my check, on my bill? It's been dropped twice now in the last 3 years, or since you have owned it. So it's my problem. I thank you very much.
So, Mr. Price, if you'll head in the back and they'll pull up your account, and hopefully they can get everything fixed for you just while you're here.
Do what now?
Candace or Kelly right there, she's, oh, sorry about that.
I went by here and then home.
You're okay, she's waiting to you in the back. Pull up your account
Okay.
and can hopefully get it all worked
Hold
out.
on.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So, question I would have for so he's saying, you know, level pay, then it gets dropped without his knowledge. Is that you know, something that you guys see often? And if so, what's the reason for it? What's the cause? You know, like what's the cause, and what do you guys do to fix that?
So I can't speak specifically on his account, not
Just
pulling it
in
up.
general. I mean, is it something? Is it a complaint that you guys have seen that level pay, or is that something you guys do? You fluctuate the level pay.
I'm loud.
Okay.
Yes, there is a level pay process, and in our tariff, it's reevaluated once a year to check and see if it's consistent with your usage. And then that automatically gets looked at and reconfigured. I actually just recently asked myself, because like our home loans at the bank, they send it to you at the end of the year and say, you know, you can change your escrow amount or not change your escrow amount. And I know that's something we're looking at, maybe as a possibility of trying to work with customers on that. So there's more of a choice, more involvement on that. But thus far, it has just been an automatic process of checking to see if your level pay payment fits right with what your usage is for that year.
So what do you do when it doesn't, you know, because it seems like, you know, his complaint was level pay was here and it was good. You guys lowered it. And then you're saying I owed more because you lowered it. So, you know, I mean, I guess the question I would have is what do you guys look at when you change the level pay? You take the rate increases that you guys, you know, are proposing or get, or usage, you know, things like that. I just don't know why, you know, the logic of it's here, we lower it, and then the bill is actually higher than it was when it was here. Like, I'm trying to figure out how that happens.
It's based on historical usage. It wouldn't be taking into account something that we anticipate happening in the future. Just like it wouldn't take into account if all of a sudden it's very cold, much colder than normal. It wouldn't anticipate that, so maybe it gets off that way. But it looks at historical usage and tries to be as accurate as possible. Certainly is the plan. It does sound like Mr. Kreitz needs some personal assistance to have his account looked at to see if maybe there was an issue and it wasn't working as it was intended.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
quick question, if you don't mind. Talking to our constituents, we get a lot of questions on the daily with Liberty.
Is your mic working?
I don't know if it can or not. Too. I'm trying to talk loud.
Are your neighbor's mic?
Oh, is it working now? Awesome. Mr. Mike, you had in your statement stating that you are aware of the new meters that you guys have put in has issues. We've kind of already heard just from a couple of them that, you know, we're well aware of that. What is Liberty doing to fix that issues that you are finding? And, you know, also, if you are having so many issues with that, why not go back to the old style of meters? Again, I have a whole bunch of questions, but I just wanted to hit on that one while you kind of made that statement.
Mr. Wilson, in my opening statement, we talked about the actual billing system,
Okay.
not the meters themselves.
Okay.
So-
Can you answer anything about the meters by chance?
I cannot. I don't personally know of a meter issue. I know the billing issues of the software, the billing software.
And that was the decimal misalignment, basically.
Oh.
That's been happening a lot.
Yeah, that did happen a while back, and it should be completely fixed, and so that shouldn't be a going forward issue. If there is someone who's experienced that recently, please let us know, and we'll look at your particular account. But that was an error when the AMR meters were put in place. Computer issue on where the decimal point was, where the digit was, and that was brought to our attention and then fixed. So that should have been fixed for everyone.
And how long has it taken you to fix this problem? Once you found out you had a problem, how long has it taken you to do it?
To my knowledge, that meter one was very quick, but I can't tell you exactly.
Thank you.
We can get back with you, Alderman,
Yeah,
on
I'd
that.
like for you to get back with us
Okay.
on that.
Candace might know. I don't know if she can hear us.
I don't have the exact note, but I will get it.
Okay, that would be great if you could try to find that out.
So we've got 6 or 7 people that had signed up. I'm going to work through them, and then if there's any that got kind of off the list, then we'll open it back up a little bit. So is Mary available? Mary.
Starts with an S.
Does he live on Village Lane?
Maybe it doesn't start with an S. If your name's
Anyone named Mary?
Mary? Mary? Uh-huh. Okay, well, let's move on to, how about Gary Miller?
I'm kind of like the rest of them in town. My billing, I had them withdraw money out of my savings account or my checking account every month. And it was the same old thing. Finally, I went to the bank and canceled it out. Now I'm writing checks every month, which is a pain in the butt. And I don't know why they can't get their, a big company like that, I don't know why they can't get their software fixed after 6 months. And another thing that I've run into, I had a guy come out, was going to cut a limb off, was just hanging over electric lines last spring, and he said that he would be out between spring and fall. This spring he came out and he said, well, it's going to be between spring and fall this year. Next year it's going to be between spring and fall the following year. So evidently they don't like to work. Thank you, folks.
Probably. Trish Price.
Okay, I'm Tricia Price. My comments, if Liberty would like to weigh in, that'd be great. But everything I've written, I wanted to address the Office of the Public Counsel and the Service Commission. So, like I said, if you want to pipe in, glad to hear from you. I dread a Liberty bill every month. We're hurting, and I'm sorry, but Liberty is why. I consider you an unfit company for Bolivar for 3 reasons. One is you overcharge us. Our MHI is $44.6 thousand in Bolivar, as opposed to $68.9 thousand for the state of Missouri, and yet you insist on 16 cents per kilowatt hour. That's above, by several cents, the Missouri average. We're hurting. Every cent is absolutely brutal. The second is billing chaos and silence from your customer support. In April of 2024, over a year, late, missing, insane bills. They're drowning us. One family, according to PSC complaints, faced a $1,691 bill, and that was more than their rent. Families get shut off notices despite paying. I don't know that they were actually shut off, but they got shut off notices. Liberty promised fixes last August and then again in February, and yet we have no fixes so far that I'm aware of. It's not getting better. It is getting worse. Third, smart meters. I'm sorry, what did you call those meters?
AMR.
Okay. They seem to show a spike. I'm seeing a lot of bills from a lot of citizens that their water bills are doubling. Usage is doubling, not necessarily the amounts. Since the rollout, usage jumps and customers are suspecting misreadings. Your customer service is a ghost. We get no answers and no help. You've had 12 months to act. You failed us. This isn't a glitch. This is a collapse. For over a year, Liberty has broken us with high costs, neglect, shut-off notices. PSC, OPC, your February probe confirms our daily fight. They're unfit, chronically unfit. I say, freeze their rates. No hikes until their billing is verified, their meters are checked by independent experts, and service responds to the citizens. They've had their shot, now prove it's fixed. They'll hike again if we don't stop them. They already have an ask that, if I'm not mistaken, doubled when they didn't get what they want on the sewage request. Find us a provider that won't bleed us dry. Citizens, this room, you know this pain. Tonight, your voices can win. Over a year of empty promises, outrageous bills, and neglect, that's Liberty's legacy. I'm pleading with you, freeze rates now. Fix this now, or free us now. Bolivar deserves better than this. And I thank you all for your time.
Is John available? I feel like I'm at a doctor's office. I'm sorry. How about Roberta? You guys live together.
Not a public speakers. My 3 minutes may go to 40 minutes. My wife does the billing. I just got involved in this, and I'm looking here due on February 6th, minus $117.41. due on I'm sorry, I said February 6th, due a minus 117.41. Due on February 5th, 671.09. Due on February 13th. Anybody recognize that these are all February dates? Due on February 13th, a minus 584.29. This due on March, minus 198.35. I think they could probably lower their rates a little bit by firing whoever bought this system. I think that would be a good start. I think it's just horrendous. This, when we go in, that's water. Go into electric. January 21st, 2025. We owe $686.13. Due February 19th, we owe $515.64. Due in March, we owe a minus 180.69. I believe the same guy bought that program. I know you guys are controlled somewhat by what you can charge. You can charge 13.8 cents if I'm not mistaken, per kilowatt hour. But when I go through my bills and I take my usage and I divide it by the kilowatt hours, I come up to 38.7 cents because you have these other things that you're not controlled by. You can jab us in the back any way you want to with these other fees, and we are not paying 13 point. Is anybody in here paying 13.8 cents? I doubt it. I doubt it very much. I don't think that I'm the only one, the only one that's paying 37.8 cents. 38.7, I'm sorry. My wife, do you wanna say anything? She pays bills.
Thank you, sir.
I pay the bills only because that's what they tell me to do. My complaint goes back, we moved to Bolivar last May. I had always heard that our utility bills were high. I didn't think too much about it. And they said Liberty did the electric and the water. So in June, I get a bill and I pay it, and I just kept paying it throughout the months. And then I get a bill in November for $641 for water. I'm thinking, whoa, that's a lot of water for two people. But I paid it. And then I started getting back refunds and bills and refunds and bills. Not only do I think your billing procedures are really screwed up. When our utility bills started going high, we decided to put solar on our house. The house we came from, I averaged a utility bill of $13 a month. I go from $13 a month to $200, $300, $400, $500. That's a little bit ridiculous. First, we had to wait for city approval, which we got right away. Then we had to wait for Liberty approval, which took months. In November, we got all of our approvals. We had the solar put in. Liberty had to come out and check the meter and check the work. It took not days and not weeks, but months for them to come out and check that. So during the entire cold spell, we had 1 month with our solar usage. I think that Liberty forgot who we were. I think they forgot that we are their customer and they need to take care of us. If it means they get a new computer system, so be it. Go out and get a new system, get it right, and take care of your customers. What happened to customer service? We've all been waiting for it. We talk about it in retail, we talk about it in wholesale business. Why can't we talk about it in the utility business? You need to take care of your customers.
Excuse me, ma'am.
So, question I have, explaining that bill, how does that happen? Where you get negative 100, 634, negative this, negative that, like, how does that happen?
You want to check? It can happen.
Can't hear you.
There you go. It's on.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So it can happen generally, what I've seen lately, that it happens when we have to rebill and correct a customer's account for various reasons. So I would encourage the customers to go check to make sure if that's what has happened. But we have had the billing issues. We're not shying away from the fact that we've had billing issues, and there are multiple customers that we serve that have received multiple bills like that. We generally have tried to attach letters that go with it, or maybe they will come out a couple of days before those bills go out that have, like, where there's multiple bills in an envelope, to try to explain it. But generally it's because we're having to rebill and correct some billing issues that we've identified.
With you saying you're trying to identify, in government, in Bolivar, we are trying really hard with transparency. And what I'm hearing is, we know there's issues, we're trying to fix these issues, but can you be transparent with our citizens on what issues you are finding and how you guys are trying to correct that? I mean, I'm hearing you say, yeah, we're finding these issues and we're trying to refund, and, it seems like a mess and a headache. But can you be transparent and say, hey, this is what we're finding the issues are?
Sure, I can try to give some examples of some specific billing issues that I think has impacted our customers. One of them being when we put the SAP system in, so our new billing system. How it's been explained to me is that we put thresholds into our new billing system to try to trigger when maybe there is a billing exception. That would mean that perhaps something in that account says it's too high or it's too low, so it would kick that bill out and say, hey, it didn't meet the threshold for what a normal typical bill would be for that type of customer. So unfortunately, so when that happens, that bill has to be manually looked at by our customer service system. It manually has to be touched instead of just being processed at massive billings. And so keep in mind, it's around 165,000 customers on the residential side here in Missouri. So we have 21 different billing cycles that we bill on the electric side each month in the state of Missouri. And so when those thresholds were set up, it was set up very conservative. So then it kicked out a great deal of bills that needed to be manually looked at instead of being electronically processed and automatically processed. So before long, it didn't take before you became completely overwhelmed by the number of manual billing errors that were.
So question, and I don't mean to interrupt. So 160,000 customers, you said about 10% experience billing, so that's about 16,000 a month. How long ago did you put the system in? And it seems like the first month, if it popped out 16,000 by hand, you guys should have known, like, hey, threshold may be an issue. and like, how long did it take you to actually catch on it was an issue and to change it and to where we're at now?
So we converted the system on April 8th of 2024.
Okay.
Okay. We started we noticed almost immediately. And I don't know if anybody has went through a software system conversion at where you work or the businesses that you own, but sometimes it does take a moment to get yourself about. And then probably by, I would say, June, we're somewhere around through there, we noticed that it was kicking out quite a bit. And we had to really evaluate, well, why is that happening? What's causing it? And so it did take to probably, I would say, a September, October timeframe for us to figure out that it was the exceptions, is what what the system is calling it. The exceptions were too restrictive, perhaps is the best word to say for it. And so then we started making changes in our system, or we designed and worked with folks to determine what changes we needed to make in our system at that point in time. Well, you still have to test those changes. You just can't put that in overnight and expect it to change. So those, we identified a vast majority of those around the October timeframe, like I said, and we put those changes into production at the end of December of 2024. And so from that time frame, we have seen quite a significant amount of those exceptions kind of fade away and they start clearing those out. And then every month since then, we have identified other issues that we needed to fix inside of our billing system, and we have continuously tried to make those improvements. We're getting better, but it does take time, and
So you started the system April 8th. You said, by June you kind of realized there's an issue. When did you let customers know that, like, hey, there's a billing issue, like we're having some software issues? Like, when did the customers first, like, oh, hey, when did you reach out to the customers and say, our bad, we're having this issue?
So we notified customers before we actually went live with the system. So before we actually went to April 8th.
So you notified customers there was going to be issues with the system?
There could be potential issues with the system.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you, hold on. Then you found there was issues. So when did you notify the customers that there were actually issues?
So as I understand, in the month of October.
So you knew about it in June and you notified people in October?
Yes, we identified the customers in October that were still struggling with billing, and we sent out a letter to both our electric customers and our water customers, the ones at that point.
And so, hold on one second.
Yep,
So,
yep.
kind of the thing that, the last speaker did a great job about, customer service. And, kind of the thing that I've been hearing from, a lot of constituents is, hey, if there's going to be issues, okay, but like, let us know, like, show us what you're doing. And literally what I'm hearing is it was radio silence. Like, there could be issues before, which, hey, that's great. But I would also wonder, like, hey, let's not launch a system until we know maybe what the bugs are and what we're working out. But that's just me. And then you knew about it in June that, hey, there are issues, and then you notify people in October. So I mean, that's half a year delay. And again, I have conversations with people who say, I can get my prescription medication or I can pay my utility bill. Like, those are legit conversations I have on a weekly basis with people. And, when there's issues and you don't tell them for 6 months and you're getting a $600 bill, negative $150 bill, $1,600 bill. So I'll be honest with you, I have you all trumped, but I can't say that from up here. So if I talk about my bill, I got to walk down there and talk about, but so, customer service goes a long way, and it seems like that's where the lack of, disconnect is you had billing issues. Okay. But like, you got to let people know, and especially people who, you know, everybody who I've talked to, I mean, or that's come up, that, I mean, all these issues, like, and again, you said 10%. I mean, Bolivar's not super big, and I mean, I'm not a math major, but I'm assuming Bolivar maybe had more than 10% of people that had the billing issue. So, like, in an area that you identified, and I think you were talking beforehand, that when it's double bills with the water and electric, that cause some issues. Why not get out ahead of it and reach out to our community and say, hey, these are the issues? I mean, you know, it's one of those, like we heard, you know, we don't have an option, which again, that's, you know, state level stuff that but at least the option we have, like, work with us, you know, like, give us a heads up when you have these issues. And I think that could go a long way. But to me, April to October, and, you know, Mr. McLaughlin said if this was his business, I mean, if I had a business and I had an issue and I didn't tell my customers for 6 months, I don't know that I'd have a business anymore, you know. But unfortunately for us, we can't choose another business, you know. So to me, customer service goes a long way. Like, it baffles me that you knew issues and waited 6 months to tell anybody. So that's, yeah, so.
I will mention that we did have an open house, and I in here in Bolivar, I can't quite remember the exact date. I was in the fall of last year, and we had a really good turnout. So we were able to help several customers with the billing issues. And, you know, the company would certainly, we recognize the pain and the frustrations that having billing issues impacts lives. We fully recognize that. I'm a customer myself. And, you know, having those types of meetings, I believe several customers walked away from that meeting very happy to be able to get that help. And so, you know, we're going to try to do something very similar where customers can come over to the service center. We opened up our bay, had tons of customer service reps, more than what is normally staffed there, to try to help with the bills and get a better understanding. But I certainly hear the comments that you're making, and I appreciate the feedback.
And again, we have our folks here today. I certainly understand part of it is you want to just share the concerns, and you should. We are here to listen, however much you just want to share the concerns. As Jeff said, you can also follow up with a complaint at the commission if you want to do that, informal or formal. But to the extent you have a specific issue on your bill right now, please take advantage of talking with someone there in the back. They'll pull up your account and they'll get it worked out. So if you're still having an issue, please make sure you go and talk with them so we can get it fixed for you.
As a retired real estate investor living on a pension, if I ran my business the way, as far as customer service, as what I'm hearing here, I would have been in business 6 months, and I was in business for 28 years. And, you know, you knew you had a problem in June, and you didn't, and basically what you're saying is that you think you got it fixed the end of the year. 6 months. I mean, that's just, and 10% of your customers are having the continuous problem. No wonder people are frustrated with you. I'm just glad my bill is not this way. And the people I would talk to on the phone are very glad my bill's not messed up.
And you know, back on the customers, how many customer service representatives do you guys usually have that are like answering the phones, talking to people, taking, you know, phone? Yeah. So how many does Liberty have, the customer service reps?
Candace, can you address Kathy?
Yep. We have approximately 45 to 50 reps a day on the phones in Joplin, Missouri, and in Ozarks.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
We also have offices that help out on the phones, you know, when there's not a walk-in customer standing there in front of them. We're staffed daily.
They are, because I find that they're not.
No,
But just like, again, appreciate that, but basic math, 160,000 customers, 10%, 16,000 people. If 16,000 people have a complaint and there's 40 people answering the phone, again, not a mathematician, but I think that's what 400 people per rep is what, is that. So, I mean, have you guys thought about in situations like we've identified this is going to be a massive issue, do we hire some more customer service reps? I mean, has that been a thought?
And Alderman Ross, we did exactly that
Okay.
when we knew this was coming.
Okay.
And we had extra staff on board to handle that call volume. Unfortunately, the comment on not being properly trained, it is a different language in the utility world. It takes a long time to get up to speed on tariffs, all the different rules. We're in 6 different states, and we found that the contractors we brought in for that extra help ended up not being as highly trained as we would like them to be, and we will never use them again. So we did our best to think ahead that there was going to be high call volume. It was a bad experience for all of us, the contractors who we brought in for that help. And Candace, we've had new hires here recently as well, and certainly continual training, and we are doing our very best. And anybody who knows Candace and anyone who is employed on the customer service team, they are working their heinies off. They're doing their very best.
How many crews do you have inspecting the solar systems that people are paying to put in? Do you just have one for the state? I mean, these people said they waited 4 months to get it inspected. I mean, if you just have one crew doing it, I could understand that. But if you have each sub have somebody that can inspect it, it's not like we have major storm damage during those 4 months they were waiting.
And again, for specific account concerns, please call us so someone can pull up and look at those dates and talk you through it. I'm not familiar with your specific account.
But how many crews do you have do you just have one person that inspects?
Well, it's not just one person, but I am only aware of one team. At least there's one solar team who I work with regularly on that. And again, because it's a pretty specialized area, we want to make sure it's the right people, and we want to make sure also that you're not paying to have people sitting around who may not be needed.
Okay, if we
So
can't,
is that just one team for this area, or one team for the state of Missouri?
And we can follow up with you on that to get exact staffing levels. I am not familiar with the exact staffing levels on that. But so we have 2 things for you on our list. We'll make sure and follow up with you.
Thank you.
Members who have signed up and are here to speak, I'm going to get us back on track and move down the list that I've got, if that's okay. I do have one question. Since we're on YouTube, we've had people kind of send in questions, so I had one. This is from Tony Hill. I was told level pay is every 6 months now. They changed mine to 6-month review on level pay. Is it 6 months or 12 months?
Let's have Candace check me.
So in the new system,
Candace, could you come up to the microphone? Sorry, it's the online thing. Thank you.
can you hear me?
Yep, that'll work.
So in the legacy system, the manual process, or the process for reevaluating an average payment plan is what it was called back then, was done manually. It was done in the contact center. So imagine there's not as many people that we can touch at that time. We're looking at how far the balance is in that contract and doing a manual evaluation of those contracts. In SAP, it was automated, and it was set to adjust at 6 months and 9 months. That manual, or that automatic adjustment, has since been turned off per my request, so that it is not happening anymore, and that was done in February. But we did have customers that evaluated in October and again in December, and it's looking at the last 12 months of your usage. So it's taking your bills, looking at that last 12 months, the most recent 12 months, and evaluate it based on your personal usage. And that's how it comes up with a new average. But we did, like I said, turn off that 6 and 9 month evaluation so that it now will only adjust at the 1 year mark. Does that answer the question?
I think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving down on our list, Rose Christian.
First of all, I want to say something positive. Your girl here in Bolivar is amazing. And she bends over backwards trying to help people. Now, on the negative side, back in December, I got a water bill for $1,500 and called the 800 number on my bill and was told, you have a water leak. I did not have a water leak. So I called back again, and they said they'd have somebody out come out and read my meter again. And so I waited and waited. Nobody called me back. So in January, I called again. Every time I call, I get somebody different. And they always refer me to the first person, even though she's not available. They'll say, well, I'll take your information and I'll get with so-and-so and then we'll get back with you. So I finally, after the third or fourth call, I did contact the Missouri Commission and filed a complaint. And about 3-4 days before the commission got back to me, I got a credit on my bill. So I don't know anything, so that's great. But I used to work for a water company, and what they said was, my meter hadn't worked for at least a year. Now, if you have somebody reading your meter monthly, I worked for a water company in Hudson, Kansas, and our meter readers, if they had the same number for 2 months, they would do some checking. How come it takes a year for somebody to say, hey, there's something wrong with this meter? That's my question.
That's a good question to ask.
It is a good question, isn't it?
And as far as your specific account, I wish I could give you the answer of why it would take so long. I could tell you in general, what has been shared with me is that sometimes there's a communication issue. And so if it's not being read, I will also say I think it was in July, August timeframe, we actually lost our meter reader here in Bolivar.
You only have one?
We had, yeah. And we did end up getting, they were rehired. I think it was around the September, October timeframe, somewhere right through there, I believe. And so I do think that doesn't make up a reason for why we didn't have a meter read for over a year. But I will say that was an issue. And when we were here for the Missouri water case, and we had the local public hearings, we had a lot of concerns expressed about estimated meter reads. And so we certainly recognized that was impacting our customers here in Bolivar as well. I'm not for sure what type of meter you had, if it was an AMR meter or not, but if it was an AMR meter, that it may not have been communicating and getting uploaded to our billing system. I don't know if your particular meter was one that required it to be manually read or if it was automatically read.
Okay, Dusty, what kind of meter did the water department have when they owned it?
Oh, man.
Because that's what they're saying is probably my meter was not ever correct from way back when the city owned it. And they did change it out.
I mean, they had a meter. I just know that they lifted the lid and the little number went, so
Yeah.
it's very, archaic, but yeah, so.
We had radio read towards the end, so it was a little more accurate.
A year is all they could go back legally. They're saying it could have been longer. And that's too long. That's way too long to find a mistake and change a meter out. And that's all I got to say.
I want to be respectful of our citizens' time. I want to be respectful of our citizens' time, but while we're talking about water, the EPA told the city of Bolivar that there was a lot of issues with our water systems, and when you guys took it over, you guys said that you guys were going to work on those issues, fix those issues to EPA regulations. Excuse me. Can you go over the fixes that you guys have completed to this time, and if there are any completed?
Are you talking on wastewater?
Yes.
Sure. So the wastewater, we have done a flow study to see how the system is working, and then we're working with a engineering firm to address how we fix the wastewater system here in Bolivar. So there's various stages of that process that we went through. Obviously, the Missouri Public Service knows those steps. The DNR knows those steps. We've been in communication with them the whole time, so we are making progress.
I think transparency with our citizens is huge. I mean, a lot of questions is we give away our water. Where's the fixes? And where's the proof in the pudding, so to say?
And you had an attorney representing you in the water rate case, Peggy Whipple. And one of the things she made sure to put in our settlement agreement resolving that case is keeping the city included on meetings and updates regarding that. So that will be taking place regularly with the mayor and the board to make sure you all are included when we meet with public counsel and staff to update them as well.
So a question I have, and totally off different topic. So we heard you didn't have meter issues, but then you did have meter issues based off of the reading, maybe with the software and the numbers coming together. Because I think you said that there wasn't a meter issue at first, and then there is. And so the question I have is, if you don't have a meter reader, how are the meters getting read? So, because if we haven't had a meter reader in a couple months, are we just?
So we actually have. Sorry. We actually have a meter reader. I was saying in the July-August timeframe, we did not have a meter reader.
So how do they get read in July and August?
They were being estimated. That a lot of those were being estimated.
Okay.
That's why I had an $800 bill.
And Alderman, it's really not a meter issue, it's a software issue.
Yeah,
the meter's metering, it's just not being read.
It's a communication between the meter and software, yes, so, okay.
Just a level set here. Moving forward, there should be no meter readers. I mean, that's the point of the investment, at least in part. So you put in a lot of money to go ahead and buy the hardware and the software. And the idea is that you, the customers, would get cost savings by eliminating jobs, meter readers.
But we're having to pay that software for the company back.
You are.
And we're paying for meter readers to come out and read our meters, but they're not coming out.
They brought on meter readers on a temporary basis to go ahead and try to rectify the situation.
So question I have there, how much did the software and meters cost? Do we have a ballpark estimate?
A lot.
Like define a lot, like 5 million, 10 million, 3 million, 20 million?
More.
Okay, so more than 20 million. But that's supposed to save people from, how much are your meter readers making that if 20 million?
So, I'm trying to help out a little here. So, So the concept here is it's an AMI for your electric meters, and the idea is that like a cell phone, it's effectively getting a read, right? So if you look at like the history of meter, updates, you went from a diaphragm meter. If you're old enough to remember this, people actually coming to your house and looking at the dial, getting the number once a month. That graduated to an AMR, which is a radio-based meter. So effectively, they could drive a truck down, boom, we hit that house, da-da-da-da-da. Then we graduated to AMI, and the AMI was at least in part a really like a U.S. movement. So utilities started moving towards an AMI meter, and the idea was you'd save money on O&M, or operation and maintenance meter readers, that it would be better, the utility itself would have a better handle if houses were going out of power. Effectively, they could respond to it quicker in terms of storm damage, restoration, and these manners. But so you got the hardware itself and you've got the software. So two distinct separate issues. There have been issues with the hardware, like individual meters, but not all of the collective meters. And there's definitely issues with the software itself. And that software system is in the process of being cleaned up. I don't know if I did it. If you want me to expound on any of those particular points, I can.
So we're products of an experiment that you guys have no control over.
So, no, these are great questions.
Are
Mhm.
other utilities using the same meters having the same problem?
So about 6 years ago, the General Assembly passed a specific legislation, and you can actually see it on your utility bill. There's a surcharge, right? And this goes back to an earlier comment about, well, my kilowatt hours are 13 cents, but when I calculate it, it's much greater. Well, it's those surcharges collectively that it's revenues that are being collected for individual projects, separate and aside from those 13 cents that you're being billed. Now, about 6 years ago, the General Assembly passed a bill called Plant In-Service Accounting, or PISA. And the whole idea behind it was to encourage the utilities to make lots of investment in the distribution system, period. The idea was that we need reliable service. We need to effectively update it as we move forward. Now, there are a number of features that an AMI can provide that produce benefits for customers, but I'll be honest with you, they haven't been particularly popular. So one of the options that you can do is actually time-based rates, or time of use rates. And Liberty has that option today. So the idea is that you'd have a little bit more control over your bill and how you're being charged. And there's a real, again, I'm an economist here, there's a real logic behind pricing your service close to its actual cost. And what do I mean by that? The electricity that's powering this room right now today is arguably less expensive at the wholesale market level than it is, say, at 12 o'clock on a hot summer July. Does anybody know why? Yeah, everybody's running the AC. Everybody. So when you think about like a larger footprint, if everybody's turning on their power at once, you've got to have some generation to go ahead and meet that power. So we have power plants right now that may only run like an hour a year. But for that 1 hour, those market prices are so high that it covers its cost and makes a profit off of it. And those.
Why wouldn't you rent it more if it's costly?
These are great questions, and I am quickly getting beyond the scope of like what my initial issue is. But the short answer is, we are all in this community right here. You guys are all part of the Southwest Power Pool, and that includes multiple states across the Midwest. All of those utilities in that power pool own generation assets: wind, coal, nuclear power plants, all of this stuff. And the market monitor effectively, and it's amazing. If you ever get a chance to like see something like this, it's something like out of Star Wars. It's just, videos everywhere, and they're literally like balancing the load of what's taking place and making sure that you have reliable power. But each of those units are being called based off of how cheap it is to run. So the cheapest is something like wind. It's just windy, boom, I can go ahead and run that. I don't need to fire up something that requires fuel. But we all know what the problem with wind is. It doesn't blow all the time, right? So if everybody's using power at 3 a.m, that's great for the wind. But if you're not powering that wind, then it goes up. Then we might have solar if it's during the given day. Well, if it's cloudy out going over across the market, Then you got to fire up more plants. Now, for the owners of the plants, if you own the plant, you're able to go ahead and collect those revenues and make a profit off of it. And those numbers are actually flown back to customers. And that's another surcharge on your bill. And that's the FAC. Those are just fuel-related costs. And you'll notice there can be wild fluctuations with it because it really is dependent on how well the utility's assets are performing in the market at that point. So that's the short answer, is that the market won't call on that really expensive unit that only runs 1 hour because it's really expensive. And those are costs that are then passed on to the rest of SPP. Hopefully that made sense. I know it's a lot to take in at once.
That was a lot.
It doesn't matter that they're messing around with software that doesn't work. We get paid up, down, the power is one thing. What they're using for software, they have intentionally stuck money into something that failed. You know, now it's a sob story. Oh, you know, Liberty, just bear with us in another 15 years, we'll probably have this worked out. But right there, you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, we're gonna get back to.
This gentleman says he worked for the company for 13 years. He's proud. I wouldn't be. I'm sorry, sir.
So
Everything that I've heard so far tonight is y'all telling me what you can't do, how much money you spent on your own screw up, but yet we're supposed to say, oh, it's okay, we'll go ahead and pay you this money, and we'll keep going on saying, now what I'm gonna owe this year, this month, $15,000 or $15? You know, I didn't ask you to buy the software. You know, all I asked you was fair trading. I give you fair money for fair value. I do not mind one bit. I love power. You gotta spend $100 instead of $50 so that we can have something good. Okay, but don't make it $500 to $50 to $5,000 to $1,500. It's been going like that. That's unacceptable. But yet we're getting here told this is software problem. You bought this software without trying it out, not doing anything, and don't tell me that's the one thing you can do. In today's world, people have software running out there, you know what? and we get stuck with one that it's gonna take us 5-6 years to get it all straightened out.
So, I'll try to be quick. Just to level set a couple things here. You're not paying for that software today. And to answer that question, we are in the middle of a rate case right now, and this is why it's important that you voice your opinion, because the utility will be coming in to collect recovery for that investment. So that, amongst all of the other issues, are opening up the books, and we're looking at, was this a prudent investment? Was it done well? Does customer service matter? All of these factors are being placed into it. And that's why it's so critically important that you do voice your opinion here. If you get an opportunity to go to the public hearing, where you have the commissioners who ultimately make these decisions on whether or not they get recovery for these investments, they need to be able to hear this. The second issue, and I'll just leave it at that, and I promise I'll move on because I know we've got a lot of time. There is an investigation taking place. So we are taking notes. We're very grateful for the fact that this is being recorded, but you do have the PSC out there right now, and believe me, they are hard at work, and there are many different stories. But it only matters if you are able to articulate that and they hear that.
So in that respect, we're going to keep moving on. A lot of you guys want to come up to the podium, so I'm going to try to keep going. So is Stephanie Nielsen available? Nelson, I'm sorry. Hi, Stephanie.
I'm a teacher here in town, so kind of. I understand about the software issues that you're having. I understand that, and I called in to get some clarification on some of my stuff. I got an $800 bill, and then I got a $900 bill. And so then I went and asked, I called, and my husband and I looked at the bills, and we were charged for these 2 months on two different bills. And so I called and said, I see these 2 months on these two different bills. What's wrong with that? The first fella saw that on the bill that he could see that charge there, and he said, you need to go to the local office. So I did go to the local office, and I said, what else do I need to bring? And he told me to bring my bank statements to make sure that I had proof that I actually paid those bills. And so I did, and then that girl said, Gina said, she was really nice. She said, you might have got a credit. I said, well, can you tell me where it is? Can I see that? And she says, no, we can't show you. So I don't know. And then I get this other $900 bill. And so the one fella in Joplin, I called him on it.
And I can't hear. Yeah, can we ask this guy to leave? We can't hear.
He's done.
Okay.
When I called on the 3rd, March 3rd, the fellow said he could see that there was an issue with the bill. I went to the 5th. I talked to Gina here in town. And then it was due on the 18th, and so I had to pay it. I didn't want my electricity to get cut off. And so I went and paid the $840, and I just didn't feel right about it because... And in the meantime, I called the commission. I haven't, I got a letter from them on February 28th, and I haven't heard back from them either. So then I called a lady in Joplin, Brenda, and she said, I don't know how long I was on the phone with her, and she said, have you talked to a senior rep? Because I don't understand what's going on here. So I sent an email, she sent an email, I didn't get anything, and then I sent another email, and I was told I'm on the list. So
you're on hold at the moment?
Yes.
Yeah.
From everybody. But it is frustrating, But I do have one question and maybe Liberty, but what is I noticed on the understanding your bill, February 2021, the storm in Asbury costs.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even have these people at 2021.
So
I didn't even know where Asbury is. I don't know anything about it. I just know I'm paying for something.
Yeah, sure. So that surcharge is, again, another product of the General Assembly in Jefferson City. The lawmakers passed a bill called securitization. For Empire, you're being charged effectively for two things embedded within that surcharge. The first one was for the coal plant, the Asbury coal plant, which was prematurely retired. So we hadn't paid off the coal plant. It got shut down. You're still paying that off. And that is coming through that surcharge. On top of that is the cost related to the 2021 Storm Uri. You might have remembered that awful storm. Killed a bunch of people in Texas. I mean, it was just a horrific. It did impact the service territory in Empire's service territory. Fuel cost effectively went through the roof. I mean, there was again, my analogy about talking about the different plants everywhere, none of the plants were working. And the prices just went through the roof. So to effectively pay down those fuel costs, they created a surcharge. And that securitization is effectively, to put it bluntly, it's the state basically created a credit card, so to speak, to go ahead and pay that down. But that's what that's from.
Are these people senior reps out here? Are these the people that they tell me, the senior reps, whoever the senior reps are? I don't even know.
Candace is the head of the customer care department.
The senior rep.
She's above all the senior rep.
She's the
our
senior
director. So
senior
she's
rep.
the senior of seniors.
I'm gonna.
Could you get my card first? Thanks.
All right.
Candace can get you to the right person and make sure they pull up your account and get you taken care of.
Tammy Tate.
Hello. I'm Tammy Tate. I have Tate Rentals in town. Sometimes I'm dealing with up to 12 utility bills at a time for, so if you think you have problems, come on over to my house and we can look at them all together. Number one issue that I had was we have a commercial property in town, and I was trying to get the people that were in there got it shut off, and I was trying to get it turned back on for commercial. And I called, and I was going to get a call, oh, you need to talk to a commercial representative. Okay. But they couldn't just connect me to a commercial representative. I had to leave a number and call, and they was going to give an email to them to call me. So a week went by. I call back. And same story. Well, a commercial representative will have to get a hold of you. After numerous calls, probably 6, and 3 weeks later, I'm still waiting for this commercial property that I have people interested in the business wanting to move in. I'm needing in there to clean up, and I can't get any services. I go out to the Bolivar office, and the little gal in there, she's really good, and she made one phone call and got someone on the line and got it turned on. So, I mean, I was appreciative of her, but I don't understand why I'm waiting 3 weeks on a commercial property. I have to talk to someone else, which I understand the commercial are different, but that was kind of costly on my part of not having my building rented that month. I've actually lost a couple of tenants here lately because of the billing of Liberty. They're just like, we can't afford this. We just can't afford it. Number one, they can't get into the property because the deposits are extremely high because they're going back on the highest bill and doubling it. This is what I've been told. If I'm wrong, then I need to find out. They're doubling the highest bill for the person that's moving in, and they're saying they're not holding the people that are moving in responsible for the other people's bills. Well, they are, because it goes back 6 months or a year. I've been told, and take the highest bill. Okay, why not take an average? And, and some people leave not paying their bills, so that they let it run up. They don't care what they run up. They're not going to pay it anyway. So the next person has the responsibility of covering for that person's highest bills doubled. And, I mean, young couples, they can't, number one, rent has went up, and the utilities, to move in a house is just, I just have to work with people because they just can't afford it. I've called back, and this with when the commercial, and numerous accounts, and I have at least probably, am I done? I have at least a lot of properties in town. I'm probably in every ward up here. I don't know. But when I call back, when I've spoken to someone about something on an account, they'll say they've made a notation on there, and they'll give me their name and a number and all this, and then I call back, and there's no notation. Well, here's the number here. Well, it's not on here. It's not there. So I've had that several times. One of my complaints right now is every time a tenant moves out, I need to go in and clean up the place. I need utilities, I need electric, I need water. It's $50 for electric and it's $50 for water every time these changes are made. Starting, I don't know when they started, this year, I guess. Used to, I think they charge $5, their meter read. So I'm not understanding why if someone moves out and they read the meter, why do I have to pay $50 for electric, $50 for water, for them to come back and read the meter? I do not do landlord revert, and I do not do automatic withdrawal for both the same reason. Because people will say they're moving, they don't move, reverts to my name, and here I'm paying the bill and they're still in the house. So I don't do landlord revert, and I don't do automatic withdrawal for the same reason. So that's a couple of things that.
Thank you, Tammy.
Okay. Well,
Sorry.
I'm just speaking for the people that are trying to rent. It is really a hardship, very much hardship to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly?
Hello, I'm Kelly. We've been on Liberty since 2004, I guess. We moved to Bolivar, north of town, back in 2014, and we were on Southwest. And I can't speak highly enough about them. They are unbelievably amazing. We bought our house here in the city, over in Lakewood Hills, back in 2016. When we moved down in, that electricity bill was between $150 and $200. I was a stay-at-home mom for a year with an in-home daycare. I had the TV, every light on in the house, water running. My bill was $150 to $200. Now, over the course of the years, I have ranges of bills from $1,900, $2,000, $1,700. In fact, I had a dog when I was on the city water that bit onto our nozzle and dumped 20,000 gallons of water in my backyard, and my water bill was $208 through the city. I have a water bill here for 3,000 gallons for $113.53. How can a family, how can anybody starting out on their own, working minimum wage, which God knows that varies, trying to make ends meet, pay their bills, take care of themselves, go to work, provide gas, insurance, all the things you're supposed to do when you don't even know what your electricity is going to be every month? I hold my breath. I got on an arrangement back in February. My bill was supposed to be $340 plus $66.16 to take care of this back $2,000 debt that I've neglected to pay, because who can afford it with 3 kids working full time, taking care of them? So on top of the $340, my bills have ranged from $594 to $500 to $113.53 to $372.46. I'm not a mathematician either, but 340 plus 66 is not 372. So where is that other money? What am I going to be facing next month? And when I call your customer service line, there is one woman. Her name is Mindy. I do not know her last name. I don't know where she is, but she has gone above and beyond, has called me back every single time, and has said something is wrong. Let me fix this. She has worked and bent over backwards with me over and over. Now, some of them other girls, not so nice. They hang up, pay your bill, or get shut off. What kind of compassion is that when they're looking at a bill that's $2,000, knowing that that bill wasn't like that 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and then we get 3 and 4 bills in the mail, no bills for 3-4 months? How is anybody supposed to do that? How are you supposed to make a living? And everybody just turns around to say, talk to our customer care. Let's go talk to our bills. We don't get answers when we call. Why would we sit out here and waste our time with these people now? Because this is the same crap we're all facing every single month. We hold our breath when we get these bills. And there's nothing anybody's doing. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry you had that experience. I don't want you to give last name and account number, to the crowd. If you wouldn't mind coming up and just letting me write that down, because
Well, I'll be honest with people, and I don't mean to cut you off. When I see those bills, I, as a mother of 3, with a spouse that have a home payment and all that, I can't afford a $1,700 bill. I pay what I can and I move on, and then it eats you the next month and the next month and the next month. And I depend on calling state agencies and asking for help. And sometimes I'm lucky enough to get that by the grace of God. And I know I'm not the only one struggling out there, and I know there are people far worse than I. But that is sad.
And I'm very sorry for the struggles. Something somewhat practical we can do is listen to those calls and make sure those customer service reps are addressed, that those issues are addressed. So if you wouldn't mind giving your last name or your account number,
sure,
so we can look into that.
Yeah, Mindy, by far, hands down, the best.
I wrote that down. CSR Mindy.
Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate that. You guys are good. Joseph.
I just want to thank her for giving Southwest a good name there, because since I was an employee there for 47 years, and actually I was helped implement the automatic reading system there. And that automatic reading system is really great, because you can tell when anyone's out of service. You can tell what their voltage is. You can tell a lot of things by those automatic meter readers. So I wouldn't complain about paying for automatic meter readers, actually, because they're worth the money and it does cost a lot of money, but Southwest implemented those, well, it's been several years because I've been retired for several years, but probably one of the best things we ever did, and also putting in the digital mapping system we had. So that's things that utilities have to do now to be competitive, and those are the things that I'm sure they cost a lot of money, but they're really worth it. But
they also did the job right.
Is Joseph available?
Go ahead to the next person.
Okay, thank you. Shelley Choate.
Hello. I moved to Bolivar. Well, actually, I grew up in Halfway. Yay for Halfway. Yeah, me too. I'm halfway educated, but it's fine. I lived outside of town for a long time. Right off U Highway, had Southwest, never had an issue with Southwest. Power went out, they came, they dealt with it, it was fine. It was great. My highest bill in the winter with the Arctic front was maybe $400, maybe. And that's pushing it. And that was living in one of those houses that are split in half, and they drive them out and they set them on a thing. So, you know, they're not fully stick built. So, you know, it gets a little cold and they're a little drafty. Bought a house here in town in 2020. We did look at the electric. We bought it from an older couple, so we thought, okay, they probably keep their house at about 80, maybe 85. We kind of hang around 70, 68, so we thought we'd be fine. But we went ahead and we invested in solar panels and we put them on my house. I had a $100 electric bill for winter between February and March of 2024. And then I didn't get a bill. And then the transformer across from my house went out. And we had to call to get it fixed because at the time my father-in-law was still alive and he was on oxygen 24/7. Not only was your customer service person rude to me, but she told me that I should call 911 if his oxygen machine didn't come back on. I have been told that 3 times by your reps because that transformer blew at least 6 times last year. It power surged my house. I had to fix a brand new water heater because we had to replace them when we moved in. And it messed with my solar panels, and I had to get those fixed as well. When I did finally receive a bill, my bill was over $500 for electric only. And it was from, because I checked the dates, it was from probably sometime in February to April, so it covered several weeks, and I understand that, but it was before the damn transformer blew. So, and I didn't get any solar panel credit. So when I went to the person at this location here, she's like, oh, they'll fix it. They'll credit you. I have yet to receive any solar panel credit from this upgrade or whatever for the software. Took months to get my solar fixed due to some other issues, but that transformer keeps blowing and I want it fixed properly. I'm tired of that. That's bull. Should not have to deal with that on my road. I would also like my solar panel credit. I mean, I'm still getting large bills. My bill has never gone back down to that $100 bill that it was prior to this.
In same deal, we can look in specifically if you want to just step up and give a last name and a street address so we can make sure and follow up.
Sure. And then your person here in town also said they would have somebody check our meter because it had recently been replaced during that time as well. She promised somebody to be out there. Well, then my husband had to go up the next month because our bill was still outrageous high. It went from $560 to $670. She's like, oh, we're so sorry. We'll get somebody out there. We'll get somebody out there. And then a couple weeks later, he went back up there to follow up. And she's like, yeah, we sent somebody out there. Well, funny thing, I've got cameras that look at that meter. Lied to me 3 times. No one bothered to show up.
And they told us that they had.
Yeah.
Talk about hot.
Is I'm gonna mess this name up. I'm sorry. Tony? Tawny?
Is it Tiana?
Is it Tiana? It is. Sorry. I couldn't get the right vowel in there.
Hi guys. I'm sure everybody heard. I'm Tiana. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and repeat everything everybody's saying, but my biggest issue is the billing cycles. I've spent numerous hours on the phone to get no phone calls back, to get hung up on. Currently, so I was billed on, I'm getting billed every 14 days. Okay, so I'm not even having the opportunity to pay my bill before I am getting the next tacked on bill. Yeah, and I have everything right here. I mean, so my bill currently that was supposed to be due, let me get my date straight here. Okay, so February 22nd, I had a bill that was around $1,100 that was supposed to be due. That was already extremely high to me. The highest bill we have ever had is about $650, which is still extremely high, but we are not conservative on energy. We do tons of laundry. I have 3 boys. We're just not, we run full blast. So I expect a higher bill. However, when I go from, you know, over $500 bills to here I am at a $1,200 bill essentially, then I get my next bill, okay, from, let's see, I want to make sure that I'm correct here before I'm telling you guys this. So then I am billed again. My bill is again due on April 8th, okay? And at this point, it is $1,300. So it had jumped up in 14 days. And then from April 8th to April 22nd, okay, here we are. I didn't even pay anything. I did not even have the opportunity to pay because I didn't make it to the due date. I have never been late on one bill. We pay all of our bills at full. I'm usually early at paying my bills. Not, you know, but it's a blessing to be able to do that. However, when I am getting billed April 22nd, my bill is $1,622 for a 38-day billing cycle that has been billed every 14 days. I can show you this PDF file. This cycle makes absolutely no sense. Why are we getting bills every 14 to 8 days or I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not. This gentleman back here is too. So I understand software issues. I understand when is this going to be fixed? When are customers going to be relieved from these issues? Because this is not feasible. $1,600 is not feasible for a 38-day billing cycle. I don't care what kind of usage you have. And I have not had a chance to have my meter read correctly yet because I can't get through to your guys' customer service. I have spoke to several people making notes of calling back, sending people out. Nothing has been done. I don't know. You guys are just in shambles because you're overloaded, I would assume, at this point. But I mean, something has to be done. This town is suffering. And, you know, thank God I can pay this. Not everybody is going to be able to pay bills like this. And we should not have to be calling in, doing your guys' jobs to track down the problem. This should be being dealt with before it is at the hands of our bill. You know, so I've said what I need to say, but the cycles, something needs to be done about it. Something has to be done. Our school district, I don't know if you guys are aware of our school district's electric bill. You guys think that our bill is high? Our kids are going to be suffering from this. $250,000 was the school electric bill. And I'm not sure if that covered all of the buildings, but that's not feasible, you guys. It's just not. That's what I've got to say.
Marcia Griffin.
Hello, I'm Marcia Griffin. I talk loud, those of you that know me, so you will hear me. I was watching this on YouTube, and I couldn't take it. So I'm like, I'm coming up here, because this is getting ridiculous, because y'all are going to sit there, shake your heads, yes, 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 nothing be done. So, I'm going to talk about water. So, got the latest water bill, got 2 bills. Both of them were due March 5th. The first bill was for 38 days from December 7th to January 13th, 7,360 gallons. I am one person in a 1,700 square foot home. 19.16 gallons a day. I was gone for a week. I was in Nashville for a week. So tell me, who was running the water at my house?
That's right.
Nobody. The other bill was for 28 days from 114 to 210. That was 14.4 gallons a day. So I call. Well, first I go into the office. Like, why is this? How did I use 7,000 gallons and I wasn't even there? How is my bill? I want an actual read. Oh, we don't do actual reads anymore. We don't have time to do actual reads anymore. Don't have the people. How is it read? By a computer. Okay, how is that computer reading my bill or reading my meter? Well, they drive up in a truck and it dings your meter and it reads it. I said, that is very interesting because I have a old city water meter and it never would ding a computer. They had to actually read it. So tell me another story because that's not true. So that's a lie. So I called 2 days ago because I still have not got a bill. I cannot pay my bill online. I have filed a complaint in July of 2024. Still to this day, I still cannot pay my bill online. They don't know why. Did I ever get a call back by one person? I spoke with a Danette. She was wonderful. That was in August of 2024. Someone will call me back. Still never heard anything. Called again. I spoke with a young lady in Ozark. I have her name, who was awesome. She helped me. She credited me the money they charged me for being late because I didn't get a bill. So she credited me my money. She was great. But I spoke to someone 2 days ago. Her name was Lynette. It took me 3 times to get through. Finally, I got through, and I got to Lynette. She was on the electric side, but she really couldn't help me. I was on the phone for 38 minutes. A senior rep or a manager would call me back. I still have never heard from anyone. I get bills that are actuals. I get bills that are estimated. You tell me how my bill has continually increased for one person in a house. I've lived there 20 years ago. I've lived there 20 years. I built the house 20 years ago. How my water bill continues to go up because you're estimating it. I was told by a rep in Joplin that it's estimated and they know how many gallons on average a house my size uses in water. Really? How many people live in that house? Because I live in my house. Unless my dog is turning the water on when I'm gone. You tell me how that water's being used. I can pay my bills, but it's ridiculous. And for these folks, I'm in the business world. I'm a business consultant. I teach customer service. I do safety training. I do HR. Your customer service needs some training. And quit putting them off to somebody else. Have a senior rep call me. They never call. You're going to break this town. You can't sell your house in this town right now because nobody wants to move in here. I grew up on Saco Sage and Ozark Electric. Co-ops. They know how to treat people. Thank you.
Ryan Campbell.
Hi, everybody. So we are new to Bolivar, fairly new. Welcome to the party. Okay? Yeah. So we moved in about July of last year. We kind of ran up here and fell in love with the town, and then looked around, found some property out north and bought it. So, and we're kind of serious. I say weird, my wife's sitting back there, so I can't, I'm not my own person. But, so, our intent here is to come here and invest in you know, we're business people, so we come here, invest in the town and grow, and we're not looking to do huge things, but, you know, we gotta make money. So I made a mistake when I moved here, though. I gave the wrong, we moved into a duplex temporarily over here, and I gave the wrong duplex number on July 9th of 2024. And my landlord and I got on the phone and called back on July 10th of 2024. I have the note from the SAP system that says we called back and got that changed. So I won't go through the hoopla of how many calls and how many things we've gone through. So this isn't a billing system issue, by the way. You can hide behind billing systems. I've gone through 5 conversions, 2 of them way bigger than what you're talking about. That's what I've done for 40 years. So this was, let's see, let me just jump forward. After 8 months, you sent it to collections. I got that Monday. Your customer service has been very nice, by the way. I've had no problem. The problem is I think you probably put in a new ticketing system or something, because they're losing the tickets. They put a ticket in with an issue. So I know these systems. They put a ticket in with the issue, the ticket goes into Vaporland. Nobody does anything about it. You call back, they put another ticket in. I have different ticket numbers because I asked for a printout of the notes from the SAP system that you guys put in. And so on the 10th of 2024, you recognize, and the note says, I do not live at 2833. I live at 2831. We will correct it. And the neighbor got their bill eventually. But this isn't you can hide behind, you have system problems, fine. But this is a business process problem. And this is what I do. I mean, I've done this for 40 years. I go in and consult with businesses. I've built systems bigger than the ones that you guys are dealing with. So this is a business process problem. You guys are losing communication inside your organization. The customer service team, I've heard a lot of negative comments, but they seem to be the only ones I've talked to that actually know what the hell they're doing. So I did finally get a hold of a young lady her name is Jennifer F., by the way, so mark her down. She finally emailed me back today to tell me exactly what she did to get this off of the collections and hopefully resolved. I've crossed my fingers to see if it actually happens or not. But basically what I want to say to you guys and to you guys, I mean, you can sit and hide behind your billing system and we have billing issues and we have this or we have that, but you're broken somewhere way deeper than your billing system. And you guys need to get some visibility into what the hell's going on in their company from their communication side. Because this is, I've seen too many companies do this, hide behind billing. But anyway, I'm done. Thanks. And by the way, we love it here.
Phyllis Garrison?
My story's going to be very much the same as what you've been hearing all night, but I want my 3 minutes. So, since June of last year, I've not received a consistent or accurate water and electric bill from Liberty Utilities. Despite repeated attempts to resolve the situation, including numerous phone calls, in-person visits to the Bolivar office, and attendance at that public meeting that you held in your office last summer, the problems still persist. I did get a correct bill that month, but then it stopped. Out of necessity, I have been making estimated monthly payments based on my previous year's usage. This was my only option, as the actual bills I received have been wildly inconsistent and often inaccurate. For example, one bill claimed my husband and I used an implausibly high amount of water, 44,000 gallons, in a single month. We have no swimming pool, experience no leaks, and use water conservatively. After raising concerns, I was told the meter had been misread. The correction was allegedly made for the water portion, but not the sewer, leading to even more confusion and further billing errors. Each time I've reached out, I've been given conflicting explanations and vague assurances that the matter would be resolved, yet nothing's changed. In March, I paid nearly $700, and then less than a month later, I received a bill for over $1,000. When I inquired, I was told it was due to a carryover balance from the previous water billing error. This after I had one bill that showed a credit for over $250. It's confusing. Therefore, I requested on Monday a detailed month-by-month breakdown of my water and sewer charges going back to July. I made that request this Monday. I was told that it would take a day or two to compile and that someone would call me when it was ready. That call has yet to come. This is not just frustrating, it's unacceptable. We invested in new insulation for our home last summer, hoping to reduce energy costs, but due to the erratic billing, I have no way of determining whether that investment has made any difference. I cannot budget for utilities when I don't know if and when I'll receive a bill or how accurate it will be when I do. I no longer have any confidence in Liberty Utilities' billing system or the customer service. The rates themselves are already burdensome, but adding inefficiency, misinformation, and a complete lack of transparency makes this situation intolerable. I'm calling on Liberty Utilities to, 1, provide a complete and accurate record of all charges and payments that I've made since June. 2, immediately audit and correct any billing discrepancies. And 3, implement reliable and transparent billing procedures moving forward. And 4, offer communication that is timely, consistent, and accountable. The community deserves better. We are paying for a basic necessity, and at the very least, we should be able to trust that bill we receive each month is accurate and fair. Thanks.
Thank you. That was right on the dot. That's impressive. She did good. Sandy. Sandy. Can't quite read the one. You live on East Division? Okay. That's why we do the address, so we can get track it down.
I agree and have problems with everybody else here, but the customer service I had problems with was recently, and I don't know if anybody else has done it or not, but I had automatic billing, and the amount they were going to take out was $666. That number alone is like, oh, good grief. That wouldn't happen to me. But I noticed it was in memo post because I didn't get a letter or anything telling me it was all coming out. And I happened to pull up my account and I saw that and I'm like, holy cow, that can't happen. I have other, bills coming in. And so I went to the bank, and I can't remember her name, but she was so good. We put a stop payment on it. And of course it's $40. And she wasn't for sure it was going to work, but it did, thank God it did. And I had called customer service, and I wish I could remember that lady's name, but I don't. I didn't write it down thinking, I'll remember it. But anyway, she got her supervisor. And yes, because I had called one time making for sure they cut off the automatic debit so it wouldn't come through. Yes, that's right. So I called back again a week later saying, okay, it's stopped, right? It's not coming through. Yes, that's correct. So the third time I had to call was because the $666 was coming out of my account. And she got her supervisor and she said, yes, it was our mistake. So I could either go to the office here in town or send her an email, and they would refund that $40 because it was their mistake. And I said, well, thank goodness, thank you. But I found out the other day, after waiting 2 weeks for it, because I went here in town, and they were supposed to, issue me a check. Yes, they took the copy, but I went back in there, and Liberty doesn't issue checks for anyone. They just credit your account. And I'm like, well, she said she'd issue me a check. And she's like, well, I'll look into it, but they don't do that. And I said, well, since then, I got a bill from City Utilities. Gosh, don't I wish. I'm so sorry. Liberty Utilities. And they charged me $20 for a returned check for that $666 that was returned. They charged me $20. And I'm like, oh, good grief, this thing is just a nightmare. And I said, well, credit my account. I don't care. Credit my account for the 20, yes. And if they have to, credit my account for the 40. I'm curious because the difficulty I've had with the customer service part has been recently, not back when y'all said you had the people coming in. I mean, I called 2 different times, and yes, they're positive. They shut off my automatic withdrawal. Both times they said that. And then I had to call because, lo and behold, it was coming out. So I know it's not as in-depth problem as we're all having the other way, but once again, this is recent customer service problems. I think it needs to be looked into. I mean, how can 2 people, 2 different weeks, tell me, yes, it's not coming out. Yes, it's not coming out. It stopped. It stopped. So, customer service, once again.
And Sandy on East Division, if you want to slide
Yeah,
up here
sure.
and give me your last name, let me just type that in.
So I know, we're running late, but I just have a question. So, the table you guys have in the office over there that's helping people with their bills and doing things like that, some of the messages I've gotten, the feedback has been, they're actually helping. What does it take to get Liberty to set up a table like that at your office for like the next 3 to 5, 3 to 6, 6 to 12 months, something like that where people can go in a one-on-one setting like that instead of going down and waiting in line. So
I think it's important that we get your story as part of the
We
interview.
can take it back and see.
Okay.
We'll get back with you.
Is Dean? Can't quite read this one. Is it
On a
D?
table like we have out here, set up
Deanna? Dean?
several months to help with.
Paula?
East Moppin?
Yeah. Is it on East Moppin? Going once, going twice. How about Carrie Long? All right. How about Philip? Oh, jeez. Sorry.
Cannoli?
Yeah. Cannoli? Yeah. Yeah.
I got one. All right.
I was afraid of that one.
Hi. I own several rental properties here in town and in other outlying counties, and I also have one over in Greenfield that's also a Liberty. And constantly, it's and I heard a landlord here earlier. She was talking about this, but all the tenants are telling me the same things. They're not getting their bills on time. Everything you've heard here tonight. My question is, why can't you pick a date and that's the date you get your bill for everybody? Why? I mean, they're getting bills random times, different times of the month. They're constantly calling. I mean, I bet, I'm not a betting man, but I would wager that most people that live in Bolivar do not have their bills now with you set up on auto debit. Just a hunch. Yeah, I mean, and my main question is, why does it take a year and you haven't fixed the problem? It's not a systems problem at that point, in my opinion. It's a people problem. You got the wrong people running it because they haven't fixed it. And, and I heard people say, well, the state's allowed us to do this and that. Yeah. Who writes that legislation? It's not your state reps. It's these companies that come in and they write that and they fund their campaigns and they push that legislation to the state, and then they say, well, we had nothing to do with it. It was a state, which is BS. we all know how the system actually works. You know, the average citizen doesn't know that that's really what happens, but that's what happens. And, you know, I mean, are you polluting the creek here that you pump the water out, the sewage right now? Is that why they're over there working on this system? I mean, are they in violation right now?
They are not currently in violation. No, everything is in compliance with the plan.
Okay, so were you out of compliance? Because I mean, I've seen a lot of construction equipment over there and a lot of talk about it.
Well, as the alderman was referencing, the city had an issue before we.
I'm not talking about the city; they don't run it. You do.
Yes,
It's your problem.
Well, it is now. Yes.
I mean, they pushed off the problem, put it on a ballot where no one was going to vote. You know, and say, "Oh, look what we did for you." Yeah, they ain't saying that now. Might not have been the exact people here today, but that's what happened. And you bought it for a song and dance, and then, and now there's a charge on there as, is it Asbury or whatever?
Asbury.
Yeah. You went to the state and said, "Oh, we need that. We can't be expected to pay for our own plant we want to build. Let's charge all the customers." And so you get the state to agree to that. You say, "Well, the state said we could. You know, that's the state." No, it was you. You did this. Every bill, every month has that charge, and it just ticks me off every time I see that. It's like, you know, what other business does that? You're a monopoly. I mean, where else, what choice does anyone have? So you can sit up here, and you're only having a meeting because you're under investigation. I'm not under any illusion you really care about the people individually here.
Sir, I think this is rhetorical and you don't want me to respond, but
No, go ahead.
whatever it is in me, I feel compelled to respond. Charlotte and I have been working together for quite a few years. You're not going to find a more caring person than Charlotte, and I hope she'd say something similar about me.
As two friends would.
Well, we're co-workers and friends. I hope that we've been here long enough, but we care deeply. And again, Charlotte's a customer.
The actions of the company show you don't give a crap.
Well, we're trying, sir. And you can or cannot
Well,
believe us.
I mean,
and
are you
that
saying that
is up
because
to you.
a state commission member's here taking notes, or what?
No.
You know, is that why you got people out there saying, "Oh, we'll help you"? You know, every time I've called, I got someone in New York or Chicago.
No, you don't.
Yeah,
Because our
that's who
customer
I
service
get.
representatives are not in New York or
You
Chicago.
stated yourself here that you added a bunch of people to answer phone calls initially. They weren't all your permanent employees.
We added some contractors to help with the overflow.
Contractors. That's a nice term for saying someone's sitting at home answering your phone for you. Because I got a hold of people, you hear dogs and kids crying in the background.
We
They're
do
not
allow
sitting in an
work from
office
home.
at Liberty Utilities.
We do allow work from home.
Yeah, that's crap. They need to be working. I'm sorry, pardon, I shouldn't have said that, but that's just.
I'm very sorry you've had the experiences, and I'm not going to convince you otherwise. And so I
Well,
appreciate
okay,
you
why
sharing
can't
your
you pick a
thoughts.
date and that's the bill? Because wherever you're mailing it from now, it takes like 8 or 9 days to get to Bolivar. Do you realize that there's a big, I mean, that's not your problem with the U.S. Postal Service, that's a different issue, but it basically takes 8 or 9 days to get here from wherever you're mailing those bills from.
And if you'd like electronic billing, that is an option, so you're not having to wait.
Well,
on
I'd like to get the bill before you send a disconnect notice saying this, yeah, instead of, you know, you get it on a Monday, it cut off notices for Tuesday. Yeah, that's not sufficient.
No, and that's completely improper.
And
not
plus
in line with
you
the rules.
changed
That's
everyone's
happened.
number at one point, the account numbers.
The account numbers did change.
Yeah, and that messed up a lot of stuff, but.
Thank you, Philip. We've
yeah.
got a couple more.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you, sir. Tanner Eisenberger.
Thank you for having this town hall. I think it was a great idea. And I will hopefully be short and sweet. Just two basic questions. One question for you. You say the surge charges. Will we see an increase with the passing of SB 4 if that's signed into law?
That's a good question.
So they can say they're making improvements and doing studies and charge us more. So
So you're not going to see a direct increase from SP4 on your PISA. It actually like lowered a quarter of a point as to how much they can recover. I don't think SP4 is going to have a direct impact on your bills anytime soon. What is going to have an impact and what's going to increase, just to level set everybody so you know what's going, even if we had a magic wand and we made everything right here that you've heard today, the cost of living is going to increase. I just want to level set you for that. I mean, fuel cost, everything is going up. You know, from my vantage point, where I'm looking at future investment, where we're going at it, and it's not just Liberty, it's all of our utilities that we're dealing with. The cost is increasing. So the estimates that we are getting for products, and that we are going to.
But some of us are seeing electricity bills that are mortgaged for 400,000 plus home.
That is clear to me today, and that is
outrageous.
I agree. And this is why it's so, context is important. First of all, it's wonderful that you're able to articulate this and put this out there, but it's so important that you go back home tonight and write it down, and then be sure that the PSC gets a hold of it or the OPC gets a hold of it, so we can follow up and actually verify this. We can go ahead and look at it. Is it an issue? Right now, I can only guess. I can sit there and say, well, it sounds like they're estimating your bills. And what I need to do is I need to look at the context of all of your bills to make sense of that.
And thank you, Jeff, but I have a minute left, so
I'm sorry.
I'd like to get to the second question. Okay, so when we were told that we needed to sell, it was because the EPA was coming down, that we needed to make major improvements, and we did not have the money to make those improvements. All right. Somehow, you guys have had a flow test study, but no actual work in improvements. And my question is just a very basic question. How many and how much do you guys spend on lobbyists each year to advocate on your behalf in front of the Public Service Commission and to the EPA that you guys can treat these good, hardworking folks the way you do? And if you guys would be kind enough to answer that, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
I want to know how estimated bills are acceptable for the people who are paying those, because I'll be honest, we sit with one light on in our house when it gets dark because I'm terrified of our bill.
And
We
it's
don't.
pretty bad that if you're looking to buy a house, you look to see who the electric company is.
Right.
And I would like an answer to my question, too.
Yeah, you're trying. I'm gonna have to check on the cost for you, because that is not something I would know off the top of my head. I'm only aware of one, but I wouldn't want to give you that answer because I don't know as a.
Well, none of these people can afford a lobbyist, I can tell you that.
And if it helps any, I'm not getting good feelings here, but if it helps any, that is not something customers pay. It's not part of the cost of service that goes through to your utility bill. And from shareholders who buy into the company. It is a publicly traded. The most of the revenue is from our customers.
That's not our money that you use. It's your money because we give it to you for service. But
Correct.
we're disconnected from there on, right?
I'm sorry, sir, I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, he has a good question, though.
Yeah, we're disconnected. That's when we give you money. We're disconnected from that until it's time to pay you.
And I am very sorry you've been feeling that.
Transparent. You know, and so, but if you spend that money on an improvement, or a new printing machine, this, that, and another, that's not our money, it's shareholders, right? The shareholders and your money, we didn't have anything to contribute to it, right? I mean, we're sitting here because we just like to give money away. We come up here to hear what you people are doing, you know. Gentleman asked a question I know you can't answer. You're not quite, that's above your pay grade.
That is considerably above my pay grade, yes.
I'm not trying to be who I let you bug your you know, all you gotta do is tell us that.
Well, what I can say is that we'll find that out for you, and if you wanna come up and leave an email address or something, I can send you an answer. I'd be happy to do that. I am aware of one lobbyist that we have here in the state. And again, I do not know the contract price for them.
I'm gonna ask some questions.
Can you tell us who it is?
I can if I look it up, just a second.
While we're doing that, I had one other question come in from YouTube concerning billing. Why, a lot of people are getting two bills, one specifically for water and one specifically for electric. Can you address why those haven't been merged in all situations? Some situations they are, but there's still some that are getting multiple bills, one for the water, one for the electric.
But yet they're the same account number for each bill.
Just three account numbers for each thing.
I have the
There's
same
one for
account
water,
number.
and one for the electric, and one, I had to spend 8 hours on I can answer pretty good.
Go ahead.
Are those bills in one envelope by chance, or are you
No.
saying they're mailed
They're
separately?
getting multiple mailings with one's electric, one's water and sewer.
Okay.
The one I got this week was actually, the bill was for the electric, but it only had the water and sewer on it. But it had the full bill for electric, which showed up 2 days later. In a separate bill and a separate billing, which is new because it hasn't been doing that. So that was an add-on to one of the YouTube questions. But I'm assuming that's, again, software issues and...
Well, I'm going to hate to put Candace back on the spot. I'm not a billing person, but Candace, would you happen to know why some customers are getting electric and water bills on two separate bills and mailed differently?
So as of recently, here, so I'm not, everybody can hear me. Most recently, in the last month, we have implemented and put into the system the new rates for the water. And with that has come a lot of testing and validating, and a potential for you to get two separate invoices for the water, sewer, or electric.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so I have a couple questions. So, public counsel.
Yes,
you
sir.
represent the people that are out here, correct?
That's right.
What can be done on their behalf to, help with the billing, the rates, all the issues that have been brought forth tonight? What can be done on their behalf to remedy that situation?
Well, that's a great question. What can be done? Well, it's happening to a certain extent right now. The fact that you guys are articulating this is what we need to hear. We will, like I said, there's an investigation that's going on. The investigation is going to produce some recommended outcomes at the end of the day.
Can you say what some of those outcomes could potentially be?
Sure. I mean, it could be anything from okay, so there's potentially, yes. And so to appreciate the situation, so the PSC is doing an investigation. The Public Service Commission is effectively acting as a neutral party here. So they're looking at all interests, shareholders, ratepayers, the community, so forth. So they're providing objective information at the end of the day to the commission. Now, we're an automatic intervener to every case in front of the PSC. We are concurrently doing our own investigation. We don't have the staff collectively that the PSC does. So we will take the findings from that on top of the findings that we have. And then we, quite frankly, because the company is in for a rate case right now, we will roll that right into the rate case. That'll be part of the discussion. And in that rate case, any number of different outcomes could play out. I mean, quite frankly. So,
but if you're struggling to pay your rates now, if they're already asking for a rate increase, what's that? I mean, are you gonna? I'm sorry, but pay it or get your electric shut off.
So we take away from our families is
Yeah,
what
it
it
comes
does.
down to whether or not you go grocery shopping or pay your electric bill.
Pay for your
Period.
children.
22% of Bolivar
So, and I can appreciate that. Like, we do put out that economic analysis. We do that baseline data. We know exactly what type of customers that are being impacted by this. We can make recommendations, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the appointed public service commissioners themselves that have to make that decision.
People that are living in multi-million lifestyles and things like that, who don't care if the average person gets screwed at the end of the day.
In fairness, they're not multimillionaires. They're appointed.
Well, they're getting a profit. I mean, they have to be, just like everybody else.
They're making more than we are. By far.
So they're public servants. At the end of the day, they're appointed officials by the governor. Right now, we have we're actually short one at the moment, but all of them collectively, and they'll be here in, I don't know if we've set the dates. Yeah, so it's forthcoming. I would say maybe August.
Yeah, I was guessing summer, but we don't have dates.
So,
late summer.
So the short answer is nothing. There's nothing they can do.
I wouldn't say that.
So they can write down, send you guys things, but so ultimately when rate cases go, I think you said it, like, you guys open their books and look at their books. There's a state statute right now that for-profit utilities can make how much of a profit a year?
There is no specific number.
No, I thought that a utility company could make, 9.8% profit per year.
No.
Okay.
No. Now that is a probably an average. It's probably a little high right now. A return on their profit on their investments. But ultimately that will be an issue that will play out in front of the commission.
And so all they have to do to the commission is show that we're losing money or we need to raise rates to do.
Oh,
X,
no.
Y, and Z.
I mean, in fairness, we'll send out hundreds and hundreds of DRs, we call it discovery, where we'll ask questions. And I can tell you right now, just listening to this, I've got a DR that's saying, I need to ask about every school district. I need to look at every school district and see if I'm seeing anomalies between what's taking place in this town versus across their service territory. I've got another DR. I need to know how many people are on auto debit. And I need to go ahead and control that for increments of 50, 100, and then all the way up. And I've heard numbers as high as, in the tens of thousands, apparently. So
same question to Liberty. What are you guys doing to remedy the situation that you guys have heard all the issues with tonight?
So we have been diligently working to remedy the billing issues, and I know that you're still not seeing the issues fully remedied. We anticipate having most of those issues completed at the end of March. That was our goal. So if you do continue to have billing issues, we need to know about it. Because that may mean that there is something that we missed and we weren't aware of. But I would say continue to let us know if you continue to have those billing issues. And then we are having open houses. We will have open houses. We were planning on having some in Joplin. It sounds like there would be interest to bring another open house back to Bolivar and have it over at our service center, so we can do that to help our customers to make sure that if they're still experiencing billing issues, that we do our best to help remedy that.
So, and one last question. I was talking to somebody today, Tanner brought up SB4. So part of SB4, if it's signed into law, you guys can bill off of future months instead of past months. Like, I think, 12 months future costs as opposed to going.
Future test year, yes.
Okay, so when you guys go to repair the sewer system that's here in Bolivar, and you say, I'm going to do that next year, can that be factored into the rates, the rate request or anything?
Yes.
So ultimately when, and this is, I think, a hypothetical question, when the city of Bolivar sold the water and sewer because we didn't have the money up front to fix the issues, and we sold it to you guys because it was you guys could bear that cost up front and then get it fixed. You guys haven't fixed any of the sewer issues yet, but now you guys can get the cost up front, which is the same thing the city of Bolivar could have done to fix the issues.
So in fairness, if it was, you were right up until the end.
Okay.
Like, so
that usually happens, so I appreciate that.
So When Liberty comes back and wants to go ahead and make investments on the sewer system here, they'll need to go ahead and file a case, effectively explaining exactly what they're going to do, why they're going to do it. They're going to need to show bids. They're going to need to show this was the most cost-effective version to go. That's all going to need to be filed, and that will be part of the rate case. So
but that can be done before the improvements are made,
right? Whereas today it's past tense. So as I mentioned before, like this computer software system, they have not recovered a dime for that yet. So they're in for a rate case right now to go ahead and seek recovery for that. Now, whether or not that's recovered or not, that's ultimately up to the commission.
But I think we're so they have to present it, and then they can get the rate increase before they construct or fix the sewer.
Yes.
Which is what the city would have had to do, but we were told that they could do the work and then encumber the expense afterwards because they were a big enough company. But now ultimately they're going to do exactly what the city would have done by get the money up front, fix it. So you guys can get them.
And Alderman Russ, the law was different.
It was.
And I don't disagree that the.
And we haven't done that yet. I'm not.
And they could very well not do that. Okay. Let me step back and say again, ultimately, whether or not they do, the option of using a future test year in SB 4 is not a guarantee. So effectively, the commission needs to say, we're okay with doing a future test year. So it's their discretion.
The commission, and I don't know the answer. The commission, have they ever? I know they've negotiated rates. You guys, like for example, the water asked for 134. Have they ever denied Liberty a rate? Just flat out said no.
I don't think for Liberty.
No.
Okay.
As in kicked our case out? No.
So every time you've asked for an increase, you've gotten some sort of increase. But with this, we're hoping that maybe you won't ask for an increase to fix it. But, I don't know why you wouldn't if you've never not gotten one.
And as Jeff had mentioned earlier, the rate case process, before we can change any rate, it's approximately 11 months, hundreds of data requests. The public counsel and staff get to see all of our books and records, audit everything, make sure our expenses were prudent, and they look at the actual cost of service. So they look at all of our payroll costs, all of our real estate costs.
Everything.
Literally every component of the cost of service, and that is how the law is set up.
And I'm not disagreeing with that. All I'm saying is, before it was you could fix it and then get a rate increase, and we would.
So one thing that I would like, sorry to interject,
you're fine.
but
You're fine.
The SB 4 is new, so we're still trying to learn it. But it is my understanding that there is a reconciliation process that takes place. So if we were to put in to this future test year that we anticipated getting our sewer project completed, at the end of that future test year, if that didn't occur, then the reconciliation process would make us give that back. So it's.
So
advocate on behalf of SB 4?
I can actually speak to that. They didn't. And I hear the frustration with this. I really do. I'll tell you. I mean, I was there. I mean, the context of this is important because this utility, and I realize it's a natural monopoly. You don't have an option. They're a relatively small fish compared to the other utilities in the state. This is about 150,000 people. In context, Ameren, Missouri is 10 times that. Spire, Missouri, 10 times that. And they have an army of lobbyists. They don't. And there's reasons for that too. So all valid points.
Question that I've also gotten a lot, and again, maybe you can answer, is I hear a lot, why can't Southwest Electric come into Bolivar? I understand there's a state statute in place. Co-ops can't come into communities with more than 1,600 people. So they, by law, state law, not local law, like there's nothing we can do about that. But how is that Southwest Electric, which is a local co-op, services right around, I think you guys maybe have 5,500 hookups or so with electric around here. They've got like 5,400. They're about 6 cents a kilowatt hour cheaper. Like, how does, like what plays into that? And the question I have, and again, it's just, I'm just curious. I'm just trying to learn. Is it because you guys are a for-profit and you have shareholders that have to make money, and Southwest Electric is a not-for-profit, so they don't have shareholders? So is that 6 cents different just there to show our shareholders are doing okay?
Well, that is a part of it. As a regulated utility, an investor-owned utility.
So how big of a part of it?
It depends. Like, this is it's a difficult. We're a little frustrated here in answering that question. Context is important here. There's 3 types of utilities that operate all over. All right, you've got municipal utilities like Springfield, you've got cooperatives, and you've got investor-owned utilities. Now, every one of them can be run well or run poorly. And I can point to municipal utilities and I can point to cooperatives where the prices are outrageous. All right, so each individual utility has a different culture, a different cost of service that's associated with it. Co-ops are able to go ahead and lean on federal subsidies to a larger extent. And the reason is it's really expensive to serve those customers. They're distant. I mean, it's literally, think of it as a cooperative customers are rural. You might have 10 miles before you get to the next customer. That's not a cost-effective way of serving somebody. So to serve Southwest customers, on a whole, is actually more expensive individually, but it is being subsidized because of that rural compact. Municipals, as a whole, are generally cheaper to service. Why? Because it's a densely located area. Now, Liberty Utilities is unique in that it really does share a lot of characteristics like a cooperative. It is your communities are very far apart. Those are longer lines. Those are longer. We need more service people to go ahead and go from point A to point B because we might only be servicing one house there. So that, on a whole, the other issue is, you think of it in context. If you got 2 million customers and you screw up something, that's a lot of customers to spread those costs around. If you've got 150,000 customers and you make that same mistake, then it becomes a more pronounced issue. So there are a number of factors into why one utility might be, more effective than another.
I'm sorry. I'm interested to know why we're defending the integrity of Liberty when questions are attacking Liberty or wanting an explanation as to why they function, why they do. We want to bring in everybody around us, but when we're up here and we're pleading our case, we're being very transparent and very open about everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at each other, who's going to answer this one? Well, we'll get back to you. We'll get somebody to call you. Well, I'll find that out for you. Why? We have all the knowledge in the world to defend Liberty up here, but when we want questions answered, it's passed off.
So I'll try on that. One, I, for example, am a regulatory attorney. Mike is the president of the gas company. Charlotte is our senior regulatory person. Candace is customer service. We all have our different roles, so I can't know the answer to every question that is asked, especially when we don't know them in advance. We couldn't look up your questions. Obviously, they're coming at us here live. I can't know, Mike can't know, Charlotte can't know. We can't know every answer to every question. I don't know all the staffing levels. I did get you the name of the lobbyist, though. I do not work with him in my role, but his name is David Winton, is our registered lobbyist here in the state of Missouri. What Jeff has been saying, Jeff is the consumer advocate here. His office represents customers. He is most certainly not trying to defend us. That's not his role. He is sharing the law and the basic law around utilities. That Jeff and I can both answer for you pretty easily because
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's just the factual
I think
law.
what we need to do is say no to them at least once. Say no. You're not getting no more. Deal with it, suck it up, run it like a business, or go out of business.
Mm-hmm.
There comes a time when we're done. That's your job.
Give us the right to choose put them out of
business anyway.
So, to that question, like, at what level, you know, because obviously we can't choose, you know, is that, like, where does that law come in at? Is it a federal level, state level?
Well, effectively, what you got is a franchise agreement, and that's what's. These are natural monopolies, so there is no competition with your utility service because it's not cost effective. And if you think just logically, let's say, well, competition's great. I'm an economist. I love it. All right, that's how you bring things down. If you've got 3 water companies in here, think about the logistics of that. You're gonna have 3 separate pipes going up and down the streets. You're gonna have 3 sewer systems. That's not cost effective, and nobody will invest in that sense. So because of that, and we've been doing this for several hundred years, you effectively have a franchise agreement. So in this case, Liberty Utilities gets to have, you know, the pleasure of serving you. All right, and you're have to work with that utility. In exchange for that, they've got to put up with economic regulators. They've got to put up with the state. They've got to put up with the public council. They've got to put up with Missouri Public Service Commission. They can't just arbitrarily increase your rates. In fact, just about for everything they need to do, they need to get approval. Now, as far as competition, as far as looking at different options here, the way I understand what Liberty's position is, and I can appreciate that. You're not the first city effectively to have a problem with their utilities, and I can point to historically examples in other cities across the country that have switched and gone from an investor owned to, again, municipal owned or something else. Atlanta's a good example of that. The city of Atlanta was once a municipal system that they sold the entire water system to a private utility, only to not have good service, and they effectively bought it back. There are a number of things that you could do. The city of Chicago tried to get out of its franchise agreement with Con Ed a few years back. And the reality of the situation is it's very expensive. It is very expensive to walk back on that and do your own municipal system. Now, the way it works in Missouri is it's effectively, you've got an alliance. You've got a municipal league of various municipal utilities that power their utilities together. But your individual assets that are your poles, your wires, the substation down here, all of that stuff, that's owned by the utility. So you would need to go ahead, and there are ways to do this, but I can't stress this enough. Like, this is above my pay grade, and you would really need to go ahead and hire some outside consultants to effectively get an independent assessment on that. And even then, there's going to be reasonable minds can and will differ over that. So it's not unprecedented. It's just it's not going to be a process that's going to happen like that. That's just me being 100% frank with you.
So I'd like to make a statement or ask, when you did the water rate increase over at the American Legion, so it just seemed to me like one of the staff on the representing, I guess they represent the commission, do they?
The staff of the commission. It's actually a separate part of the commission. They're not the decision makers.
But they're not the commission themselves.
Correct.
But the staff, it just seems to me like one of the staff was more on the side of Liberty than they were the city of Bolivar citizens. So then you mentioned that the PSC commissioners are appointed by the governor, which I didn't know. So how long is their term?
6 years, but it can be extended, and in some cases we've had some commissioners beyond that.
So can they be recalled by the governor too?
Yes.
So I think our only option here, if it works, is to lean on the governor or our legislators to make sure that the PSC commissioners are not biased towards any utility. And if they are, for the citizens of Bolivar or any other part of the state, to lean on the governor or politicians to recall those commissioners or appoint new ones when the time comes up. So would that be an option?
Sir, I think you could absolutely exercise, whatever you feel like you need to exercise. And your elected officials represent you, and by all means, feel free to speak with them.
But it seems to me like what we've heard here tonight is that would be maybe the only option we would have.
No, let me stress this again. I do, believe me, I hear the frustration. This is not my first rodeo. I've heard these. Okay, it's not falling on deaf ears. It is absolutely not. Now, I can't promise any outcome. I don't. Quite frankly, I don't have the control over that.
Now, on all the ones that you've heard before, and this isn't the same thing, but everybody who requested a rate increase got the rate, not what they requested, but some sort of increase.
No.
Okay.
We've had rate decreases. I'm not saying it's rare, and especially in this environment of cost increases. I mean, the reality of the situation is if this company goes, if it has financial issues, that will negatively impact you too. If their credit rating goes down, that means if we need to build another power plant, that will be more expensive because we will be borrowing at a higher cost. It is a difficult juggling act that is taking place here. I mean, quite frankly. Now, that doesn't excuse performance. That doesn't excuse the experiences that and really that's what this is all about. This is the sense making and the sausage making, so to speak, that is going into this process. And again, I would encourage you to come to the public hearings that are going to be held later this summer when you have your appointed commissioners that will be here. We measure a lot of different types of performance. So you can talk about just cost. What's your cost relative on a nationwide level compared to your cooperatives, compared to City of Springfield. We look at your performance in the market. We look at your reliability. We look at customer service scores. There are a number of performance-based metrics that we do look at. A lot are. So, in fairness, if you go to the Missouri Public Service Commission website, there is a larger software system that houses over 100 years worth of filings in front of the PSC. If you want to see something in particular, I would just recommend you contact me. And by all means, go to the commission's website. I'm just saying it'll be difficult to navigate. I don't blame you.
You can look by company.
Yeah.
You can also look by case number. So
It's
our current electric case, you can look up that case number on, it's called EFIS, the Electronic Filing Information System for the commission.
It is all fairly transparent. You could see
all of our testimony.
Yep.
When OPC files their testimony, you can see all of theirs.
You can see the position we take, the recommendations we make, everything.
Okay, so I'll look at that. So the focus is all around the billing systems, and there's been questions about how you're going to fix that, but there's a lot of information about customer service. I've got documentation that says you lose your tickets inside your own system. I literally have that in writing from one of your people. What are you doing to fix those things? Because you can spend forever trying to fix the system, but if you're broken inside of that system, I mean, technology will only do what the people tell it to do. So you need to stop blaming it on the technology and tell us what the real problems are. Because the technology is simple. It's like I go to the doctor and say my finger hurts, or I hurt everywhere on my body, and it's because my finger's broken because I'm looking at the wrong thing all the time.
Dr. Mark?
I can.
Sorry if I may. I'm Russ Drury from the Public Service Commission.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the people involved in the investigatory cases for Liberty right now. And I just want to say that we're in discovery, and we've sent out a lot of beta requests talking about the things that you're questioning exactly. Okay. We're not just questioning the system. We're questioning a lot of their build up to the system, their training of their customer service staff. We're questioning from all kinds of different angles. Okay. So we're not just looking at the system.
Most certainly, it will be a very thorough review, and that will be public as well. That is also a docketed case, so you'll be able to see all of that. Just briefly, some things that are changing. We have a brand new head of the company who has come in. pretty excited about helping us turn things around. He understands he's coming in to a rough situation and is working on that. We've been having employee personnel changes, pretty significant in response to what's been going on. Also, we had been our parent company, Algonquin or Liberty. You hear us say all different names. That company used to have IOUs like us, the regulated utilities, but also some unregulated renewable companies. That whole side of the business has been sold off, so we're focusing only on the regulated businesses. So those are two big things in response to your question about what's happening to make things better.
And I'll respond real quick. So my team is actually watching this right now, and they've been texting me. And they specifically said, we need to talk to that guy that has set up numerous systems that says it's a business process issue.
This might help everybody feel better about their bills. How do we rate cost-wise to the rest of the state? Are our bills higher average or lower average than the average cost in the entire state?
Higher.
What about the people that their bills keep raising? They can't afford to pay the bill. What are they supposed to do? Nothing's going to get done. Nothing will get done.
At the federal level, they just cut that agency that helps people pay
Light
their
heat.
electric bills. So people are going to be screwed.
Sir, I 100% hear you. We're living this, and we are working on options. I can tell you that SP4 did open up an opportunity, and again, this is a bit of a loaded statement, but the general, if the governor signs this bill, one of the options is to open up a differential rate for. It could be for low-income customers. It might be for senior customers. It could be something along those lines. Now, the rub with that is if you're giving a certain segment of customers a lower bill, that's going to have to be recovered by somebody else. That's right. So I can tell you that we got to, I mean, if that bill gets signed, then we will sit down and make sense of that to see if that's an option. But we are acutely aware that LIHEAP and that the lifelines effectively that are out there might be drying up at one of the worst times. So we're getting creative and looking really just to tighten our belts and find any options that we can.
Alderman Neal has a question, and then.
Yeah, sorry, Jeff, I had a question for you. What does accountability, if you have a utility company that really, like you've said, you've heard some horror stories from other places, you have a utility company that is really, really underperforming, or there's other problems, what does accountability look like from the state? Is the only stick you have giving a lower rate or a denial of a rate, or are there other tools you have to provide accountability when you see a utility company not performing the way that they need to serve their customers?
So there is an option to do a formal complaint, and that could be issued by our office, that could be issued by the staff. And in that case, there could be a financial penalty that's associated with that. Those are all options. And you might be asking, well, why haven't you filed a complaint? And the short answer is that the company is in right now for a rate case. So we are actually opening up everything. The difference really becomes a matter of burden of proof. So when a utility files a rate case, they've got to go ahead and provide all of the evidence. If we file a complaint case, we have to do all the legwork on the front end and then present it. It's a different context, and we've got 12 people in our office. We are regulating every utility in the state. All right. We hear a lot of different issues, and there could very well be a complaint case that follows up out of this. But we have to address the elephant in the room right now, which is the rate case. So
I had somebody just ask me a question. Would Liberty Utilities consider selling the utilities to the city, and if so, how much?
No, the utilities are not for sale.
Yeah.
Well, I know we started with it, but I was asking.
Yep.
Yeah, somebody asked.
We're all backed into a corner, and we have to rely on this until this is all figured out. I mean, you've said Liberty's not for sale. You said we're stuck in a monopoly and we don't have a choice. My mom just had her house for sale, and she lost $80,000 on that sale of a home, an all-brick home.
That's awful.
Because of the Liberty being the utility provider.
That's the first thing people ask. Who's the utility company?
And that's, again, I'm a real estate broker here in town, and that has become the number one question. Is it Southwest or Liberty Utilities? If you go on the MLS or Zillow, a lot of people, their first things they put in the description is Southwest Electric. I mean, it has become, something that I have conversations with people in my, my professional life every single day. It used to be, hey, how much land does it have with it? Now it's who's the electric provider. So
Trickle-down effect is affecting
Mhm.
our entire economy and our healthcare. We're having people live in the dark with
Yep.
children because they got disconnected because the billing was so screwed up.
Yeah, and you could lose your children if you don't have power.
That's right.
Yep. Yep.
And I don't want to discount the hardship you're sharing. There are no disconnections going on for non-pay at Liberty. That was discontinued when we started to bring the system on. The system changeover because we knew there'd be issues. So late fees and disconnects were suspended, and they have not.
Then how does
Disconnects have not resumed.
But if you can't pay your bill, then you're gutting into this huge mountain of debt, and you're just going to, like you said, live with one light on.
And when you call to get a payment arrangement, it's you have to pay so much percentage of your bill in order to get the arrangement, which is fine if it's doable, if people can make that payment. But when they're looking at $2,500 to pay a portion of that, they're trying to figure out, do I feed my kids? Do I put gas in my car? Or do I pay this bill? Am I going to lose my home? That's what it boils down to, and it's sickening. 9 years ago, I didn't have this problem when Empire was the name. Now that we've changed over to Liberty, the security deposit, why am I being charged another security deposit on my bill? It's saying it's being held for $475. It's on every single bill, and it's included in my bill. When I paid a deposit, when I joined Empire back in 2014 of $1,400.
And there's not a new security deposit, and Alderman Ross and I were discussing this beforehand. I know it is confusing for people that are doing business as name is Liberty. Your utility for electric is the Empire District Electric Company.
Then why
that is-
reflect a deposit being held of $475, which is different than what I paid when I had the electric turned on? That's what I don't understand. Then I've got other bills saying that there's a remaining balance of $372.46. Well, that's $200 more than the bill I'm being charged. And it's on every single month since December of last year.
There was a decision when we switched to the new billing system on the deposits. So someone had mentioned the change in the account numbers. Everything changed with the new billing system. So the deposits did have to move over to your new account number. So it showed on one bill, and then the next bill was a credit. If there is some issue with yours, we need to look into your specific account and make sure that's right. But that was the intended plan, was for everybody's deposit to carry over. Certainly, we are not imposing a new deposit because of the customer information system switching or Liberty being our fictitious name or doing business as name. It is still Empire providing your electric service.
Last question over here in the corner. We've gone a little bit over, but if it, go ahead. Can you come up to the microphone, please? Well,
But people online can't hear
yeah,
you.
online can't hear us.
I've lived in Bolivar all my life. I'll make it short because everybody's already said what I needed to say. The last bill I got from Empire was $113. My son's on REA. His light bill this month was $87. Mine, after you guys took over, my light bill went to $400. Then next thing I knew, it was $5, and then it was $7, and then $1,000. And I'm gonna have to sell my house and move. And at this old age, it's not too much fun. And I wish you all would leave.
All right, thank you everybody for coming up. Okay, one.
I wasn't going to say a thing tonight, but some of these good people will remember me from the first time we had a meeting like this. And nothing's changed. I sat in that meeting that night, and I listened to people like this sharing all of these things, all of these complaints, same complaints. And then I wasn't going to say anything. I just wanted to listen, see if anything had changed. Nothing's changed. And we're paying for services where nothing's changing. I mean, well, I know, we're stuck. Nothing has changed. And I understand these folks are working for a company, they're doing a job, right? I mean, they're getting paid. That's what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be supporting their company. I have the solution tonight. If you would please leave Trudeau's home phone number where we can all call him and let him know how things are going down here with his Canadian firm. I would really appreciate that.
I don't think he's in charge anymore.
Oh, did he quit recently? Okay, well then get the other guy because he's as bad as Trudeau. All I'm saying tonight is, guys, I sat and listened to you all that night. And we were tired, and I know you guys have got to be exhausted because some of them were dozing off. But nothing has changed. Absolutely nothing. And all we're getting is we're working on it. You know, I'm not a computer guy, but I did learn one thing: garbage in, garbage out. Now, somehow you guys have got to figure out what is your garbage in, and then the middle process, if it's your computer system or whatever, if you can't, my gosh, if you can't figure out as a company what your computer system ought to be doing, what are you about? And then finally, maybe, we don't even know that, but maybe we'll get something good out of that. I am disappointed tonight because I really came with the idea of hearing more change. And what all I heard tonight was basically, we're at the same place we were at that very first meeting. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I know this was a frustrating situation, and hearing from you is the whole goal of this meeting. We'll discuss and work on things, and if we need to do this again in the future, it may be a possibility. But thank you everybody for being here tonight.